Today's guest is an author and UFO researcher from Wales in the United Kingdom. He co-wrote the book The Pentyrch Incident, the greatest UFO cover-up of modern times with Caz Clarke, and also The Denbigh Lights, a truthful argument for the existence of UFOs. Please give a massive Koit welcome to Gari Jones. Hi Gary, and welcome to KoitCast.
It's good to be here, Paul. Thank you for having me on.
No worries, it's an honour to have you here, so thank you for coming. The old classic, who are you, where are you from, all that good stuff.
Well, my name's Gari Jones. I'm 41 years old. I live in the South Wales area of the UK. And I've been a UFO researcher and investigator now for about 20 odd years. I should say I've been investigating UFOs for about 10 years now, researching for over 20. Had a number of my own experiences as a child, and as I've grown up, I've learned more about the subject. And well, all roads lead to somewhere, and here I am. So
exactly, here you are today. So let's start then with what brought you into the paranormal theatre. What is your origin story?
yeah, it's a good question, that one. I've asked myself it a few times, and every time I go looking for an answer, I keep saying that this subject seemed to have chose me because
Oh,
I was like 5 years old. I've had strange, paranormal, supernatural, I guess, experiences, things I can't explain. Had my first sighting of a UFO when I was about 7 years old. I'll just say this quickly. It's a disc oval shaped object. It was during the summertime when I was 7 years old. Yeah. Friend of mine, a few others, all pointed out to this thing over there, and we all started looking, and there it was. That strange disc oval shaped thing, classic shape, strange, unusual red, orange, yellow lights moving like lava in a lava flow, if you will, but blending into each other's color, going back and forth. Hovered silently. It wasn't a helicopter or a plane because I've seen those things many a time when I was a kid. I knew what they were. But my friend even jokingly said it was a UFO, but we were so young, we didn't know the significance of what we were looking at. We just thought, wow, that's interesting. But I knew those things existed. And with all the other experiences, it's just a natural occurrence, isn't it? You know, you get led into these things. And as I grew older, I started researching it more, reading more, learning more. And well, like I said, here I am.
so when, as young lads, right, you saw this object in the sky, just how you described, did you literally say, oh, look, UFO, blah, 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 and then seconds later, you forgot about it and moved on?
No, actually, that's one of my most vivid memories as a child. It was at night. The sun had gone down, but there was still a bit of twilight in the other end of the other end of the mountains there. Very dark on the other side, of course. And we're all playing. I don't even know what we're doing, kicking a ball or little children's games, whatever. And I knew it was in the summertime of school because my parents would let me stay outside, you know, in the street. You know, normally when the sun comes down, in you come, you know, as parents do. But as long as I stayed in the street in the summer, they didn't mind. And yeah, I don't know how long we were there, but one of the friends just pointed out to it, just looked up there and said, there it is. And I remember looking at it. It had an oval shape. It was like moving like this, and the lights were either on the side or underneath it. And it seemed to blend into each other in a red, yellow, orange pattern. And it had a sort of bluish hue around it, like a plasma looking blue.
Yeah.
You know, you see those arc lightning kind of blue, but more just shimmering, kind of very unusual, very hypnotic as well. You know, I bet if you stared at it long enough, you'd probably be in a trance. But no, I must have stared at it for about 2 or 3 minutes. I think everyone else had gone back to what they were doing, but I was still looking. And I turned my head back like that. I mean, maybe 15 seconds tops, and I looked back, and it was gone.
Mm.
It couldn't have disappeared in any direction if it was a plane or a helicopter at the speed it normally travels, because you'd still see them, maybe in the distance, but still see them. But this thing just turned itself off or cloaked or whatever it did. It
Or
was
zoomed while you weren't looking, yeah.
mm, very new.
But did you then turn around to your friends and discuss the object, or is it like it's gone then, really, from like the?
It's it's something you say to your parents. It's something you mess around with your friends. But like I said, we were 7 years old. We didn't know what a UFO really was or what the significance of it. We talked about it and probably mentioned it a few times, but I think we just carried on playing, watching, and you know, as kids do, watch cartoons, watch your football. You know, just
Mhm.
what kids do, really. You know, be mischievous.
But you think that event seeded in your mind then an interest for trying to work out what it is?
Oh, there were two things that happened before that that I remember very clearly. When I was 5 years old, I just recently moved to this neighborhood. Lived in a three-story house. My bedroom was on the top floor. And I distinctly remember having, I keep calling it an out-of-body experience or astral travel. I can't explain it, but I use those two explanations because maybe people can relate to it that way. But I see myself getting out of bed. Everything looks the same, but clearly it's not. It's like color is inverted. Things seem moving, are distorted. Things feel different. There's sort of like a, I don't know, like a pins and needles kind of touch to things, or sort of like spongy kind of thing. But I don't know. I am just going on memory on this one. But what I remember is going downstairs to the second floor, opening up the window or the curtain to the window, and there was this 15-foot tall being standing right outside, literally standing right outside. I had a garage that came out from the extended out from this part of the window, and you couldn't really see the bottom bit of him, but I could clearly see he was as tall as the street light next to it. You know, and that was a good 15 feet tall street light, and he stood right next to it. And he had this like blackish suit on, it's like swimsuit, I say, but it was like you ever seen crude oil when it's like in that thick, gloopy state? You know, it's got that sort of look to it. You know, it's not leather, but it's got that sort of oily look to it. You know, it's very unusual. But he's got that like cone-ish shaped hair, but it's more like a more crested at the top, I guess. And he just stares at me like, well, you know, you got those weird eyes, you know, those weird oval-like eyes, but they're not oval. They're like, but I can't remember them clearly, but he's definitely got some sort of darkish pupil and a light around it. It's weird. It was very strange. And that happened like 3 times in a week. Just seeing this thing. And then the last time I saw him, the third time, he walked away and sort of like faded, like he just disappeared. Like when you see your breath in the air and then it disappears. It was like that. And then I think when I was about 6, maybe just before my 7th birthday, maybe, I see myself walking down one of my street roads, and I'm with these 2 beings who are like bluish in their skin color. They've got blue coat overalls on with these like huge collars on them, and one's got blonde hair. I think the girl had blue. One was a male, he had blonde hair or goldish hair. One was a female, she had bluish hair. They didn't say anything to me, but they were tall, you know, 6.5, 7 feet. You know, I think the male was probably 7. She was 6.5, close to 6 and maybe close to 6'10". I don't know, but she was tall.
She was tall compared to a 5 or 6-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Hello. You know, and all I can say is, you know, the sky looked amazing. Even the street around me, the surroundings, everything lit up like the way Avatar lights up when Jake is in the forest with Neytiri the first time. The whole thing lights up. It was more spectacular than that. Just amazing colors. And there's a mountain in the far distance, Riska, I think it's called, because I lived in Caerphilly at the time, and they pointed out to this. There was just like a galaxy just showing like a Hubble space image, but really defined. And they were all like, you know, put a man like that, you know, like we're from there or something. That's the message I got.
Yeah.
You saying I'm from another galaxy or something? I don't know. You know, I feel that way sometimes because this world has been very, very strange to me.
Especially recently, in the last 5-10 years, gone mental. It has.
Mental? God, I've never wanted to leave Earth so much in my life.
Now, here's a devil's advocate question then for you. Was that dream state, do you think, or was it an outer body experience going into sort of like a different reality state, or was it within the current 3D realm we're in now where you were physically taken outside? What do you put it down to be?
Probably the second one, an out of body to a different reality. So I've had someone sort of, we've talked about this, some friends of mine who've had these experiences. And maybe the best explanation I get is, maybe it's not the right one, but it's the one I like. It's like, you know, you've got all these different, you know, it's like this is the dimension we're living in here. And then there's like there's different layers to it. And it's like different frequencies and vibrations of which life exists on. Like, who says that all life is a solid matter? It could exist as energy if you wanted it to.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, sometimes, you know, we can be brought out of our conscious state into another way we can interact with it. And I'm just like, that makes a lot of sense to me. You know, I would say, you know, maybe I had to be in a dream state to achieve it, but I don't believe it was a dream because it had purpose. It had a story. I felt it. I really connected with it, both of those events. And I've never forgotten them. I mean, you know, dreams I have all the time. I mean, God, I've had some amazing dreams when I was a kid, you know, doing amazing, cool, like Superman things. Or, you know what it's like when you're a kid, innit? You see yourself doing all the cool stuff, you know.
I barely remember yesterday. I don't remember being a kid.
That's what I mean. you don't remember them. You just know you had them, but you don't remember them. But
Hmm.
these I can remember as clear as what I've just said 5 seconds ago. When I'm talking about the dimensions and stuff, it's as clear to me. It's as clear as a picture. It never goes away.
That's amazing. See, now when you said that, obviously the buzzing part is part of lucid dreaming or an out of body, isn't it? Normally,
Hmm.
it's associated with that. And I wonder if the Earth has so many visual spectrums or vibrations, like you mentioned, and all you've done is shift slightly,
Hmm.
and then you're in a different frequency, so you can see these different skies and different
Hmm.
beings that exist. They might be right stood by you right now, but because you're not phased with them, you're not seeing them. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I would go with that. I would go with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking based on it. But hey ho. Okay, and then you got led eventually through your investigations to the one you're probably most famously linked with, which is I'll try and say it. Is it the Pentyrch?
Yep, that's it.
Well, there you go, the Pentyrch UFO incident. Can you tell us what that event is?
I'll try and keep it brief, but it's quite hard to do that actually because there's so much involved. Basically, the Pentyrch Incident is a UFO military event where on the February 26, 2016, a large triangular pyramid object came into a farm field and let out 15 to 20 barrel-shaped orbs. And during that time, there was a military presence building up to this area, and all evidence shows that they knew it was coming, prepared for it, and at some point there's been military engagement where they've shot one of these barrel-shaped things down, and since then they've tried to cover it up. But me and Caz Clarke have been working very hard to unravel all of the cover up and the mystery that they try to put on it and the spin. I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but it was a real event. It happened, and it's an incredible UFO event that puts it right up there, and not my words, it puts it up there with Roswell and Rendlesham, people say.
Well, when you've got a shoot down order, and in theory, then there should be, evidence from that. But we'll come to that. So, How did this event start from anything we've got witness wise or anything like that?
Well, the witnesses begin with Caz Clarke and Dave, actually, and members of the community in Pentyrch. What happened is around the 22nd of February, or the 23rd, definitely, there was a military plane, very interesting one. It's called Snake 48. I can't remember the exact name of it right now. I think it's a no, I can't remember the name of the model of the airplane, but it's one of those twin propeller planes that started circling the area of Pentyrch. It literally just circled at a very low altitude, a couple of thousand feet at a time, and it just circled all the time. Didn't stop until it obviously had to go and refuel, and then another plane would come in, an army plane. Its code name was Jackal 48, and another twin propeller, sort of military spy watch looking plane. It would do zigzags, like crisscrosses like this. And this went on for 3 days and nights with no one in the military, MOD, or or media, or anyone from local government giving an explanation why. And obviously, the local residents like Caz Clarke and Dave, was the other primary witness to this event, we're all wondering what on earth is going on here. No one's saying anything, no one knows anything. And of course, during that time where I live, because I'm not too far from Pentyrch, about 20 miles as the crow flies, I had friends and family living up and down the valleys areas of Merthyr Tydfil and Pontypridd and all that. There were convoys of trucks and military equipment and all kinds of vehicles that you don't normally see going up and down on the roads.
That was going to be my question, i.e., is it normal for planes to be doing search grid patterns in the sky there?
No, not at all.
Cool.
Not at all. It's never happened before or since. And if it did, may have been just the odd time. If they're going to do that, they're going to do it in their military training areas. They've got one called Senny Bridge. That's a live fire area if they want to use it for that. Or they'll go up to the Brecon Beacons. There's no one around there. They don't care. They don't care in the daytime for that sort of thing. Or they'll go out to sea and do it if they have to. Just to sort of mark out areas where they can train without disturbing the local population. So no, it's not normal at all. It's far from normal. And then, so I get to the night in question now?
Yeah, you carry on.
Okay. So the Thursday, because the the event happened on the Friday morning, early hours of the Friday morning. Thursday, by that point, with no answer from the MOD or the media, Caz, Dave, Donna decided that they were going to do a sky watch. They're all friends and neighbors of each other. And they're in Caz's backyard where there's a good view of the field. And they're watching this plane just circling around. It's just circling and circling. It's not doing anything. And then it's getting to about 2 o'clock. I guess Donna at this point was cold, decided to go in and make some hot drinks. I think Caz also was getting a bit tired. Like, they'd been out there a while by a fire pit and all that, but it was getting close then to the event, but not before an E3 Sentry showed up. And this had been spotted previously by other people. That came in the research later. An E3 Sentry with those big mushroom dome things on the top of it, you know, started.
The AWAC is sort of thing.
Yeah, AWAC is. Oh, yeah, E3 Sentry, I'm used to calling it. But it started circling with the other plane, the Snake 48. And what I've come to learn now is that's part of a, what the hell was it called? It's part of an intel surveillance network of planes. They base it, the ISTAR program, that's it. Yeah, the Intelligence, Surveillance, Targeting, Acquisition, Reconnaissance. The E3 Sentry and the other plane, which, would you believe it, the Snake 48 plane, has more secret technology on it than the E3 Sentry. There's more electronic stuff on there, very high sophisticated stuff than it is on the other plane. And I've tried to look into it. All I know, it's got a forward-looking infrared and a very interesting radar surveillance system. It goes way beyond any normal conventional radar, and some scanning for various EMF equipment on it as well. Does different spectrums. But yeah, the two of them start working together. Its whole purpose is to gather intel for troops on the ground and ordnance in the air. And they're doing this for about 10, 15 minutes, and the two of them, I guess. And then Caz and Dave then see it. One light comes in, one red light, and it turns into like 3 red lights in a sort of like a triangular formation. They instantly run from the garden and go up to the farm because that's where it's heading. And as they're standing by the gate, there it is. You know, it starts to light up, you know, more and more lights. It's a big triangular pyramid craft, hundreds of feet high and wide. I don't know exactly how big it was, but it was. Sure. You're talking a pyramid here, you know?
Yeah.
And if I remember what Caz said, it came down like on a pendulum angle like that, and it was turning anti-clockwise. I was doing so. That was very unusual. And as it moved across the field, eventually Dave was watching the top of it. Caz was more focused on the bottom. And as Dave has said, but Caz has said definitely, if you're watching the top, you couldn't see the bottom. If you're watching the bottom, you couldn't see the top.
Oh, bloody huge then and close.
Yeah. A couple of things happened then. Like there was a hand of lightning that came out of the corner to stop it from hitting the ground. It looked like it seemed to steady itself. Dave and Caz did see a green light come out the top. It was one of those green orbs that shot right at the top, like it had been shot out of a cannon. Started like skipping around the area. Caz had described like Tigger out of Winnie the Pooh, bouncing around like this. Like it was like surveilling the area, or maybe it was just keeping an eye. Who knows what it was doing, but it was doing something. You know, I would describe it like it was keeping an eye out. And then at some point, 15 to 20 of these barrel-shaped orbs came out, green and red in color. Dave was the one who saw that, and he said, they started moving around like I guess flies around a light. You know, they were swarming around this thing, and I'm like, that is incredible, detailed stuff. And meanwhile, now there's more military planes joining the circle. At some point, Caz described 2 C-17s and 2 Hercules aircraft came into that area. And I think that's what she said, yeah. Anyway, the details are in the book and the presentations, but the green orb that was there shone 3 beams of light at this thing. It was brighter than the moonlight. Very, very bright green strobes of light, as if, you know, over here, and those planes proceeded to follow that thing northwest, which leads it to Smilock Woods and Lantricent. I'll get to that in a moment. But as they're watching this, you know, Caz is on the 5-bar gate, Dave is by the side of it. I think at some point he decides to go and run to it. You know, he wants to go and see what's going on. And Caz is like, no, come back. You know, I want to see, but not too close, you know. I guess realizing, you know, it's dark over there, and maybe it's not too wise to get too close to this thing. You know, excitement got the better of him, I guess. But I don't blame him. I probably would have run over there myself.
And did he actually run over there?
No, he
I
came
was going
back.
to say, he was like the Travis Walton that actually made the right choice then.
Yeah,
You know what I
I've
mean?
never put it that way before. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Um, but yeah, he came back, but it's not like those things didn't notice them because two of those barrels, the red ones, I think they saw them moving across the field somewhere, and then all of a sudden, one's over this way on a bush. There's a line of bushes that leads alongside the gate in the fields there. This one took a position about 30 feet above the ground, maybe thereabouts, and there was another one that came right above Caz in the tree. It was a tree, branch of trees right above her head. And this thing's right above her, literally like, like in arms reaching almost. And
Crikey.
Kaz is like, oh, like, well, what do I do? She didn't know what to do. What do you do? She just waved. So Kaz says she just waved at it and it just went from red, traffic light red, to traffic light green instantly like that. I mean, she describes how it looked inside as well. It was sort of like a swirling sort of thing, and like the fuzziness on a screen, the white snow on
Hmm.
the screen. She describes it a lot better because she saw it. She was there.
How big were these barrel size shape?
15 feet about size of a small car.
Crikey.
They were quite, yeah, big.
Yeah, that's above your head. You know about it.
Oh yeah, if it was sitting, if I'm standing up tall and it's so 2.5 times bigger than me, like because I'm 6 foot.
Aye,
So there, but yeah, so fair size,
crikey.
obviously quite big, and probably it would have to be a good couple of feet in diameter as well on its waist, on the width, length and width of it. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. So it then went to green color, and then it just shone out this beam of green light on the two of them. Kaz has been bathed in that green light. I think Dave was in there as well, but it definitely shone on Kaz. And she has said that she heard a voice inside her head from it saying, "Tell the world what you saw." And the two of them moved off. They sort of dimmed down. One went off this way, and the other one went up to the Garth Mountain area. And then, of course, later on, I think, trying to remember all the details, there's a lot to take on board. But yeah, later on, yeah, they went up to the fields, had a look around, and at some point, as they were looking around, they saw 3 Apache helicopters because they're up on a mountain. They can see down into the land there on the one side of the mountain there. And they saw 3 Apache helicopters moving in a triangle formation of their own, red lights on the top of them. And they were making their way, guess where? To northwest, where the other green object had taken the other 4 planes. And after some time, I think they'd gone in. Yeah, they had gone in. I think they were trying to get a bed, actually, or maybe they were just sort of staying awake in their own rooms. And then all of a sudden, there was this massive explosion just came from miles, a few miles from that same direction, and it was loud. It was really powerful. And
So they didn't see it, but they heard the sound.
they heard the sound, yeah, but Kaz knew instinctively. There was sort of a connection, I think, with the green barrel or something. She knew something had happened to one of those barrels. She knew instantly.
So it was the barrel that got shot down, not the pyramid thing.
No, no, they shot that thing down. I mean, you would have known about it.
Yeah, no.
There's no way you're going to hide that. I mean,
Aye.
it's like shooting down. That's like well, it's like shooting down a pyramid. I mean, how big's a pyramid? You ever seen one in Giza? They're huge.
I've never been there, but I do want to go at some stage. But I wouldn't want one
Yeah.
falling on me. Put it.
Oh, I mean, how I know they shot it down now is because of more evidence now. More witnesses have come forward, and these are primary witnesses to Smilog. Let me just bear with me a sec.
Yeah, no worries. Got to let the cat in, all right.
Yeah, she's too busy knocking things over as well. Thank you, Dave.
They do that. Okay, so before we get to the next part of it, and then I think you called it Smilog, I assume that's an area. With Caz, when this beam shot on her, 2 questions I have. One, since having that beam shot on her, did she have any measure of radiation associated with it?
I can't say if she did because I wasn't able to find that out. But what I do know is, and what I will say is that David and Kaz's health sometime later did suffer. I'm not going to go into details about it, but they did have some bad health effects from it, quite bad. And yeah, I imagine they would have suffered some kind of close. If you're in close proximity to these things, there's going to be radiation. How strong a
Mm.
dose it was, I don't know, but it seemed to have affected their health sometime afterwards. I can't speak for Kaz's health on this. It's a private thing for her.
Sure, you keep it,
So,
that's fine.
but it did badly affect her afterwards, and when you put it all together, what was the likely cause? It had to be from that craft. It had to come in close proximity. I'll talk about my experience with this radiation because I mean afterwards, this is skipping ahead a bit here. When I went to examine the fields, I took my meters with me and all that, my radiation electromagnetic meters. I would spend an hour, 2 hours in those fields sometimes, and I'd come out of there feeling like I've just come down with the worst case of a virus in the world. Fatigue, nausea, not shortness of breath, but struggling to breathe a bit. Dizziness, trouble seeing. My skin was red in some areas.
Mm.
Very sensitive to the touch. I mean, you could run your fingers along it like that. Just go like that. And it would feel like you're cutting me with a rusty blade or a piece of glass or something.
Oh,
It was
crikey.
like that. And I felt ill for a good 24, 48 hours, depending. And even with rest, sometimes I was getting migraines. I thought, well, take a painkiller then, just a couple of strong ones. And that didn't seem to help it. It didn't, it just helped me, it sort of numbed me out a little bit, and I'd go to bed, wake up the next morning, still feeling the same. And then just like someone splashing cold water on your face, you just like, oh, it's gone.
Interesting.
That is definite. That those are real symptoms of what people would call effects of radiation sickness, depending on.
And when you measured it, was it like the difference of one? Let's just arbitrary figures, 1 to 20. It was that pronounced an upshift in the area, or was it like a slow incline towards a peak?
Ah, I'm trying to figure out how to answer that actually, based on what you just said. Well, what I was noticing is we took two different types of detectors. One was a nuclear radiation, gamma, beta, X-ray, that sort of thing. It scans for. The other one scans for electromagnetic radiation. Now, when it comes to the nuclear radiation scanners, Geiger counters, sorry, we have determined there was beta radiation there. That much we have. The measurements we took and everything. Yeah, it's a long story. I won't go into it. But originally, there was some people with us who brought down a device. It was okay, but it didn't. It wasn't. I don't know if it was like they understood how to properly calibrate it or whatever. But it was
Okay.
detecting beta radiation. That much I know. But then I brought down my own digital scanner, which is much more modern and high tech, and I showed these results to people, and they've said to me various things. I mean, but I am 100% certain we discovered beta radiation, which is unusual for a field,
Yeah.
to be there in the first place. But some people say uh, it's like one day's worth of normal background radiation. Like every 24 hours, you get a certain amount of background radiation, right?
Hmm.
The equivalent of 1 hour's exposure based upon some of the readings I was giving them. This is just what they've told me. You take it as you want it. They said it was more like the equivalent of 28 days background radiation in 1 hour's exposure. I was like, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it sounds like a lot, for one for
Well,
one.
it's a big exponential over the background,
Yeah.
isn't it? So
That
yeah.
was one of the measurements I was given. But when it comes to the electromagnetic radiation, that's a little more easy to break down because I did multiple scans with one of those things. I mean, I must have gone through that field about 2 dozen times before we even sort of mapped it all out. And what I was getting is that radio frequencies didn't show anything. I didn't measure any radio frequencies. I didn't find any. Electrical fields, for some reason, weren't showing up either. But on the magnetic field range, it was showing up all the time. I'm like, well, what's going on here then? Because I know about electrical fields and magnetic fields. If you get a positively charged particle and it's moving forward, if it's electrically charged and it's moving forward, it creates a magnetic field. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it was very, very strange. And the measurements I was getting, and this is how I'll say it now, is you can measure in milligauss, it's called. A normal background radiation and magnetic field is about 0.5 to 1 milligauss, right? Let's just call it that. Let's say it's one.
Okay.
Let's say it's one. No, one normal background is one. Um, in a house, when you have all the electrical appliances, they say the safety range should be no higher than 2 or 4, depending, I guess, on what you read. When we were going through the fields, we were getting magnetic field readings above 4, sometimes in the 6, 7, 8 range. And as we got closer to the hotspot areas, especially where the hand of lightning, as I described, came down, they were going up towards 10, 12, 15, as high as 20 it went. So you're talking 20 times normal background and maybe 5, 6 times above the highest level of safety range, they call it. So
Mm.
yeah, that was most unusual indeed, and that remained positive in the fields of Pentyrch. It diminished over time, don't get me wrong. I started scanning those fields about 18 months after it happened, and up to about the 5th year of it happening, I was still getting readings from the hotspot area. By the other time, it was starting to diminish. I couldn't find anything. Now, if you go through there, you don't find nothing at all.
Yeah, it's
So,
obviously dissipated over time
yeah,
then.
it's dissipated. Yeah, I
Mm.
should say as well, it was the same for Smilog. You know, the areas where we know things were happening, those were showing elevated levels. And so, of course, it came to a time I had to find out, well, is this being caused naturally? Is there something in the ground? Is it artificial energy coming from a radio mast, electrical wire? Is there someone using a phone or a digital radio or something? I looked at all of that stuff. Looked at ordnance survey maps, see if there's anything. I looked at the British Geological Survey to see if there was anything in the ground. I went through that field a number of times, by myself with no scanning, no other equipment, just a scanner. But then with a camera, and other times not, just to see if I was just to see if there was anything causing a false positive reading. No, whatever was causing it was an energy signature. It was artificial, but it wasn't a man-made one. Nothing there that would
Yeah.
do that in both Smilog and in Pentyrch. And then what are the odds of that? Two areas 5 miles apart, both having a UFO incident involving military, and now we've got this radiation that's there but shouldn't be there, and yet it's causing physical effects to the plant life and human beings.
Well, it's clearly a physical trace and can easily be linked then to that craft. So that almost proves each other in a way, doesn't it? It also reminds me of the stories you hear of magnetic interference into like people's brains and stuff in regards to crop circles, because a lot of that, some people go into a crop circle reportedly, and because the magnetic radiation there or whatever, they feel weird in their brain as well and have to get out. And as soon as they're out, they feel okay.
Well, there's a story there actually, because when it comes to obviously seeing the pyramid, everything else that happened there, that's Caz and Dave. They are the primary witnesses to that. But everything
Not to be confused, by the way, with Chaz and Dave, which are a different duo.
I never heard of that.
You've never heard of Chaz and Dave?
Well, I've heard the name, but
never mind. It's all right. It's just it's a musical act. I just thought I'd be a bit silly there, but don't worry.
No, I don't listen to much music these days. I'm more.
That's all right. It's an old group.
I must be out of touch then. Anyway, Caz and Dave. Yeah, they saw the pyramid and the orbs and the closeness of it and everything. But Donna, a neighbor of Caz's, saw obviously all the planes and all the other stuff, the military men in the field and all that. But when you talk about the strange effects of people in people's minds or nervous system, Donna went up to that ball patch area, and they all and Steve as well was another neighbor of a friend of Caz, all went up there and following the sunrise from those night's events. It was snowing in the field, snowing in that one field, but it wasn't like snow. It was like a marshmallowy, spongy kind of thing, like you see in I guess in one of those cushions, those like memory, those, well, I can't remember the bloody name of them now, beanbag cushions or whatever. Yeah, but it's one of those polystyrene balls. It was like, and Donna was getting close to the area what we call the ball patch now. Was the ball patch? It's no longer there, but she felt heat on one side of her face or coldness on the other. Now she does have a bit of a condition with one side of her body where the nerves are not properly firing or registering sensory input. There's a bit of a sensory what's the word? God, what am I looking for? She's got problems on the one side of her body where she can't get sensation inside of on the side. It was that side that was feeling the heat. Normally she wouldn't feel anything, but she felt this warm sensation, and she was like, she couldn't move, couldn't get away from it. She struggled. She couldn't move her body. It's like some reason she just couldn't get away from it. She had to call Dave to hold her hand to walk her away from it.
How very weird.
That was very strange because, if that one side of her face is suffering some kind of paralysis or nerve disorder, which doesn't register in the mind, as sensory input, then obviously there's something more going on there that's causing that to happen. And like I said, many people who went into those fields with us suffered radiation sickness of some sort. I suffered it on about 6 or 7 occasions. It was horrible. I mean, there was one lady who went to see Caz and they walked around. She had cancer at one point and she was I think she was on radiation or chemo or something, and that was always making her ill. But she goes around those fields with Caz and she comes out of there. She feels like she's just been cured. She's not cured, but she feels like $1,000,000. The radiate whatever energy is causing people to be ill, it's having strange effects on people, isn't it?
Well, that's what I was going to say when you mentioned about the lady who had the side of her face that didn't feel as well as the other side. I
Mm.
wonder if she had reported a benefit since going in there, an improvement, if you will.
No, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I've never heard her say that.
No, it's fair. It's just a thought that came into my head.
It's a good question.
The second question I have regarding Caz when this barrel was over her head and then the voice went into her head. Did she say that it was audible through the ears or was it inside the head? And if it was inside the head, was it her voice doing it or was it like a different voice?
I think she has said when the light shined on her, she felt like the fear had been taken away and she felt elevated. I think she said it was a man's voice. It wasn't her voice, or she didn't hear it through her ears. It was like I guess she could hear it in her mind. It was like I guess, well, I'll describe it as a telepathic voice then.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking myself. Yeah.
Hmm. However it came to her, she heard it. I'm guessing it was more like a strong sense of friendship or something, that this thing was being peaceful to her, and she just said, "Tell the world what you saw." This thing told her to tell the world what she was. A man's sort of voice it was. She
Yeah.
said,
Now, don't you think that there, just that piece alone, forget all the planes and all the, the physical seeing of the object and all. To me, that means more than the other bits because that's intelligence saying, "Here's a plan. Tell everyone so all the bullshit is gone."
yeah, I guess. I mean, Kaz has certainly taken that mission and head on. She has been telling the world what she saw. She has put herself out there for all the scorn and ridicule that it's gotten her, and the personal insults and attacks, especially from people who we trusted early on, who have, well, Kaz would describe as very misogynistic, and I definitely have to agree with that because never seen a woman get so bashed in my life just for telling the truth.
Well, that's happening these days, isn't it? On everything. A quick question here as well. Then, if that voice hadn't have instructed her to tell the world, tell the story, so to speak, would she have been the type of person that would have spoken about it anyway?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Good.
definitely.
Yeah.
She is. She's very intelligent and she's very determined when she puts her mind to something. Kaz is not one to shy away from a. If there's any responsibility on her part she needs to fulfill, she will do it.
Mm.
Whether I guess in this case she was going to tell the world anyway, but obviously this voice, you know, it obviously must have enhanced that feeling. I guess you'd have to ask Kaz about it. I can't speak for Kaz on
No,
this.
I understand. I
Well,
appreciate that.
me working with her, all I've seen is I've never seen a witness like it. She is so dogged, determined to get to the truth of all this, and so am I. And we make a
Mm.
great team. And I mean, most people they tell their story, they go away, or they'll tell their story and then maybe come back once in a while to just to reiterate it. But no, she took this thing head on. Then we teamed up, and then we made a real good team. And then we've been working on this thing now for close to 7 years together, nearly, trying to get the truth and trying to get this information out there.
Great stuff. Now let's move on to the second part. Then, obviously, that's her witness part that she saw, and then it head off towards these woods. Can you pick up the thread there and tell us what happened then?
Well, after they went to the woods, is it?
Yeah, from what we know.
Okay, from what I've learned, what happened is that the military plane that I said, Snake 48, that had been circling Pentyrch, went over to the Smilog Woods area. Much of the aircraft activity went over to the Smilog Woods area. Many people who lived in that area noticed a lot of helicopters were flying around. For some reason, they didn't know what they were up to. People working in the Royal Glamorgan Hospital didn't know. Many people living in the area were just thought, is there an exercise going on or what? They didn't know.
Mm.
Then, sometime around, I think the time would have been 4:21 a.m. in the morning, and I'll tell you why I know that in a minute. A massive explosion rocked the area. Those working in the Royal Glamorgan Hospital felt the building shake. It shook. Whole
Oh,
hospital
crikey.
building, especially on the one wing. Doors, windows rattling, floor, ceiling, tiles, just, if they're slightly loose, they're shaking. And everybody's like, what on earth was that? They actually got a call, one of the people working in the hospital, and saying that there has been something happening, but your services are not required. And we've looked into that, and apparently, it seems that call obviously came from whoever was in charge of this military operation to intercept these things. But because we've asked about this, and it wasn't anyone in security or anyone involved in police or anything like that. But anyway, the explosion happens, and smoke starts coming in through the air vents, the doors, anything that's open or can allow air in. It's filling the area. And it smells like someone lighting a match. You light the match and you get that smell after it. It was very,
Mm.
very pungent. And then people started to notice the roads were being blocked around the area of Smailog and Lantriston. Those who were driving couldn't get through. Then there seemed to be a huge presence and then focused on this area. And I remember afterwards, someone said that there were helicopters landing on a place called the Common. There's a place called Lantriston Common behind the hospital, not too far from Smailog Woods. Helicopters were landing there. And the whole area became something of great interest to these people for a number of hours, because then we know from the flight tracker radars, especially from military watchers, like plane train spotters,
Mm-hmm.
or military watchers like that, military spotters. We've got the tail numbers of the helicopter. One of the Chinooks was flying from St. Athan, going to Smailog Woods, coming back, going forth at least 3 times. And I know during that time after the explosion, an Apache helicopter had to make a run for the Cardiff International Airport, make an emergency landing. Now, according to this, its cockpit had suffered generator failure. It was on fire and there was smoke coming out of it.
Interesting.
This is an Apache helicopter.
Yeah.
£135 million piece of equipment, certainly well, very expensive stuff, suffering a generator failure on a so-called exercise, but just 13 or so minutes prior, it had just caused a massive explosion that could be felt or heard from miles around. And the reason why I know it's 421 is because on the Richter scale, the seismographs, which I got from the British Geological Survey through a Freedom of Information request, there it was, lining up with people online and who had spoken to us. It was around the 4 p.m. mark, and on Twitter accounts and social media. They heard, what the hell was that explosion? And looking at the timestamps and the timing on the Richter scale readings, it all matched up. They had caused a massive explosion. They tried to deny that they didn't. The military said that during an FOI response, some sort of ordnance, simulated ordnance we let off. So they're not denying they didn't set something off. They're just saying it was one of those little poofs of smoke, which somehow caused the hospital to shake. Yeah, right.
Interesting. Well, that takes care then of a potential somebody saying it was an earthquake, because clearly you'd have a build-up on the seismograph anyway. And secondly, if they've admitted there was an explosion, that already fires that out the water, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. Well, I mean, just to follow up on that now, I mean, obviously for years now, we've been pestering them for answers, demanding answers now, because I'll get straight to it. Let me just explain something.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, we've had a witness. There were 2 of them, but one of them spoken to us. His voice was recorded on telephone. He gave us permission to do that, but I've masked his voice because he doesn't want to be recognized. He and a friend were staying in Smailog Woods on the night in question. They were camping because they like to be outdoors. They like doing survival outdoor activities, especially in the cold times. That's just what they do.
Sure.
And they heard the explosion, felt a rumble of sorts. They were camping up further from the impact site. They came down to see what the ruckus was, thinking something may have crashed. and they saw military men in trucks, but they also saw three men in white hazmat suits. Those sort of like suits you wear to stop contamination or something getting on you.
Yeah.
They were walking in the area of the trees, which we would know is the impact site now, and there was this thing on the ground, nestled in some bushes there, and some bramble leaves and stuff, bramble bushes and all that. And he drew a diagram of it, and there it is. There's this barrel. It's like it looked like the top end of a barrel. You call it like, imagine the old Coca-Cola bottles. That little curve with the little
Yep.
glass on top, the glass, spout on top. You take the top of that off, and you've got that sort of like sort of
I
shape.
see.
That's what he said it looked like. And he went down with him and his friend. Then they broke cover because he thought they weren't going to make themselves known. But they thought, oh, it's just the military. They're probably doing something. Said hi, everything all right? Then all of a sudden, boom! Someone grabs them, two of them, throw them in the back of a truck, took their phones off them, did something to them. Very threatening in the way that they behave towards them. Silent, but
Menacing.
don't say anything. And then they took them away and told them not to go back there. And then they looked at their phone and something had gone on there. And, if this was a military exercise, which it wasn't, by the way, but if it was, you got every goddamn right to be there because Caz, in this case, studied all of the rules and regulations and laws surrounding military exercises. They're in a public area. You can have a picnic there while they're doing their stuff. Obviously you wouldn't want a picnic, right? But you're allowed to be there because it's a public area.
Public ground, exactly. Yeah.
And, we've subsequently then taken all of this information and, we've looked at the laws and the NOTAMs, which is a notice to airmen. If you're in this airspace, do you have permission to use it? Did you file paperwork for it? They didn't. If you were in the area on a training exercise, then why did you violate all the codes and ethics you have for, you were flying low over people's houses, creating a disturbance. You were blocking roads without permission. You were grabbing people and throwing them in the back of trucks and using, some quite menacing behavior, I can only say, intimidating behavior. And, you gave no notice to anyone whatsoever. And we finally got them to admit this. We wrote to them, MOD and the RAF, the Joint Forces Command people, said, okay, for February 2016, this area of Wales, did you or did you not conduct any low-flying training air exercises? Low-flying training exercises, because you said it was exercise chameleon, but did you conduct any low-flying training exercises? They got back to us within the time that they're given, like 20 days, 21 days, depending. They categorically stated with their own words that no, they did not have any low-flying training air exercises. There were no exercises of any kind going on in that area for the entire month of February 2016. And there may have been regular sorties, from the RAF St. Athens Air Force Base, but they come back and forth all the time on a daily basis. It's a normal routine thing. But they didn't conduct any real live exercises, for training purposes. So it makes you wonder, why did you bring 20 plus aircraft, probably hundreds of soldiers with trucks and convoys of other trucks and electronic equipment and things? Why did you then block off the roads and block off all these areas? Why did you bring enough firepower to take over a small country, if you will? Not to mention some of the most sophisticated electronic jamming equipment in the world, to an area which you had no interest in being in the first place.
And especially at that time of night.
Yes, over a public area, which they're not allowed
Yeah.
to. The only thing that would allow them to get away with it is if they came here in defense of the country. If there was some enemy or someone invading the area, or there was a battle that needed to take place or something, right? They're going there for real defensive purposes to engage an enemy. They can do what the hell they want because that's their mandate, right? But yeah, I mean, that is a question that people should be asking, but they're not, because our debunkers still, can you believe this, are calling it exercise chameleon. They've just said themselves, the people you are defending, that this was not an exercise. How are you still defending a position that they themselves no longer hold to?
Yeah, that's dumb, but there's a lot of people that do that. Stick on things that have been debunked yonks ago.
Yep.
Now, can we look at this from the other avenue? Obviously, we know this event happened. You can prove all this. We got the witnesses, blah blah blah. But you
Mhm.
know, like you said about they have to file notices of training drills and stuff, or the exercises, the military. Do we have paperwork from previous exercises conducted that proves every time they always submit this paperwork or follow these procedures? And so then on this particular night, they 100% didn't follow any procedures. That is almost a telling story of itself if you can find all the other training drills that do happen and they always fulfill the paperwork.
Wow, that would be quite a major task to get all of the paperwork for all
Well,
the.
you know what I mean. If you went like five
Yeah, I
either
know what you
side or
mean.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Look, through the freedom of information request that we've done, and through the research through other exercise chameleons that we've seen, any counterterrorism drill, any military exercise they conduct, it's always announced ahead of time. You can find the paperwork announcing these things on the government's website. They announce that they're coming.
Ah, there you
You know,
go then.
the government have gov.uk have their RAF low flying training air exercises telling you that that's going to happen. I guess if you want the more detailed paperwork, you can file an FOI and get the more intricate detailed stuff. But I know that you can get that online if you want it. But the most notification comes from the RAF, Joint Forces Command, and the gov.uk. That is actually listed there. They actually have times and dates of when these things are going to take place. But when it comes to the specifics of which paperwork you can get your hands on, yeah, you can go to the Civil Aviation Authority and ask them yourselves. They will have that paperwork for public reference if they need it. You can go to the military aviation themselves. They'll have it. I think there's the National Air Transportation Service. They must have some sort of record of it. You can go to the government or your local official. Maybe they can get their hands on it. There'd be some listing of it in various things. As Caz have said before, there would be a recce of it's sort of like a list of things they must do. Get written permission. They need to do a survey of the area to make sure they're not going to disturb the local people or those who may have livestock.
Mm.
All these things you can get. They don't have any of it because we've asked for it and they've said, no, we haven't got any of that stuff.
Yeah,
You
well,
list
it's
it for
very,
other
very
things.
telling then, isn't it?
You list it for other things.
Mm.
So why is it? And all these things we've gone into, it's like they're lying. They haven't got any paperwork for anything. I mean, we've had soldiers who used to be in the army. They've got in contact with Caz more because Caz is like she's the star of this. She is. She's a brilliant person. I mean, I've never seen anyone like her. She will throw herself into this, and she is braver than anyone I know. I mean, I've seen some brave people, but this is a person who's gone through some of the most incredible experiences many people may wish to have. I don't know. And for all the scorn and ridicule and bashing and threats she's had on her life, I'm certain she's had threats in her life, trust me. When they threatened her children, though, that was it. She came out and
Oh,
said,
crikey.
"You're not doing this." Threatened her family. And, she didn't skirt away. She came out, all right, then. Okay, let's have it. You know,
Yeah, I do that myself, to be honest.
well,
Like,
you guys
bugger
said,
off.
but it was like, I'm not, that was it. I'm going to go public now. And, she did. And, yeah, and people recognize that, and these soldiers, come to her. I really admire what you're doing, and he said, yeah, you are right about paperwork. Just to take a blank gun, one of those little ones that fire blanks, those little SAR rifles they got or whatever they call them.
Hmm.
Just to take one of those, you got to fill out paperwork, like 5 or 6, 7 different forms just to take this thing off the base. Can you imagine what you have to fill out if you want to take the helicopters and
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
so yeah, we have asked for a lot of paperwork, but nothing about it.
Very, very interesting. Now, you've just sparked a little curiosity in me there, and I know it's only, what, 7 years ago, coming up 8.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have we got any soldiers that might have taken part in that exercise that have since retired and might have spoken on record, or might have spoken and said, yes, they were there and they saw
I
something weird?
I don't know exactly. I know some may have not in the exercise. No, I don't believe that one. They may have. If they did take part, I wouldn't know. I
Okay,
think
I just
I,
wondered.
I think there is one. I don't know for sure. You get people who say things, but then I can't say that we verified all that stuff. But it's interesting to know that some people were suggesting to us that they were having a day off, or they were just chilling out, in the base or in wherever they were. Then all of a sudden they get the call to get up and get ready and go somewhere, just out of the blue.
Hmm.
And I should point out with the police, I mean, the police are just as daft as the government on this. They've tried telling us that it was or they're trying to suggest that it was a counterterrorism drill, or people have suggested it was a counterterrorism exercise. Then not a military one, but a counterterrorism one. Okay, we asked them about that. We pushed them and pushed them and pushed them. They've announced counterterrorism drills in Manchester, London, Liverpool, and other major cities around the England areas. They're even putting them in papers, telling exactly what they did with photographs and videos of everyone watching. And but it seems when it comes to this particular so-called counterterrorism exercise, we can't confirm or deny these things because I would risk operational security or something. I'm like, well, you just announced it on all those Greater Manchester ones and London ones and all that. What's so special about this one then? So eventually we broke it all down, and Caz has got a legal mind for this sort of thing. I've got a good mind for it, but she really is like, she's got a real good head for legal framework and words and things. So we started focusing it a little bit more, and eventually we took it to, we put in an appeal to the FOI because we wanted an internal review. The internal review goes through, still the same thing, can't confirm or deny. So eventually I took it to the commissioners, what do they call it? The ombudsman kind of people, the commissioners people. I don't remember the name of them right now, but they are the people who are responsible for oversight and controlling, making sure that everybody gets the proper legal framework done for answering FOIs. So we put the appeal into them. I think it's the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO. So, and I had to go through so many hoops to get through to the proper areas. But once I'd done it all, I gave them all the information, gave them all the framework, gave them all the reference numbers and everything. We get a response about maybe 10, 15 days later. The police said, no, there wasn't any counterterrorism drills. According to, and this is the excellent bit I like, the Welsh Counter-Terrorism Unit, there were no exercises conducted in this area. We've not had any framework from them or paperwork or anything from them. So what they're saying is there's no counterterrorism drills either. But why I like the Welsh counterterrorism bit is because according to the Royal Mint, which is like the place where we print the coins of the country, a very secure facility, right? According to the FOI we sent into them, did you get any notification about any of this when it was going on, before it was going on? They said, no, but we did get something from the Welsh Counter-Terrorism Unit saying that there was going to be an exercise in this area. But unfortunately, the Welsh Counter-Terrorism exercise have told the police there was nothing going on. Do you see? They're getting their lines crossed here. They're not
keeping They're trying to keep the cover straight, but buggering it up along the way.
They're messing it up big time. They're calling us the liars.
Okay, so let's look at what we think this event was in its entirety, right? And I know can only ever be speculation because you haven't got the mind involved with it saying this is the intention. If it was human technology, i.e. Welsh, i.e. the British government doing a drill with whatever that technology is, let's just assume it's human for now. That's weird in itself. Why are they doing it at 4:21 at night in Wales, etc., etc.? But the more obvious one is it's not human.
I'd have to go with that one.
Yeah, but, clearly. But
let's just go with the assumption it's human technology. I'm not going to say it is because I don't believe it is.
I don't believe it is either. But
let's just go
parse it out. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was a technology that they were testing. Maybe something went wrong when they were testing it. They were trying to keep it hush hush, and maybe they launched these vehicles up to distract people from what was really going on. That's a possibility. I don't believe that's the case. Caz would certainly say definitely not, because I don't believe we have technology like that. I mean, we've got some pretty cool stuff, but I don't believe we have anything like that. I tend to notice when we design technology to be even as advanced that it tends to be more streamlined, like an aerodynamic kind of design rather than a big pyramid anyway.
That's true.
But I mean, assuming it was, it has, but we have speculated about it. Maybe they were testing it and something went wrong and they couldn't get it back to the secret bases that they had to hide it from. And it was coming into the Welsh Valleys areas. So it's like, oh crap, what are we going to do? Well, I don't know. Send those So, they had exercise chameleon about a week before, 10 days before this thing happened in North England, Scotland area. And they brought all those vehicles down to South Wales and then launched them up there. So who's to say that if it is human technology, again, I'm not saying it is because I don't believe that. But yeah, we'll just get that around there and we'll use the exercise chameleon as a cover story. That's what they've done anyway. They brought whatever ordnance they had down to intercept this thing, an interdimensional craft, as I call it. It is alien tech, interdimensional craft. I am certain of that. And obviously, they've tried to get their hands on some of it. And I do believe they have with the barrel they shot down.
Okay, so I am also, by the way, 100% of the mind that it's alien of some variety. We don't know which, but it could be interdimensional, it could be from, another part of the universe, whatever. Or it could be a time travel thing. That's another interesting thought.
Mm.
Where do you put it then in your mind? And I think you've alluded to saying it's interdimensional. What is almost the point of that craft coming in? What's it doing?
I wish I knew. I mean, that would be I wish those things would tell me, yeah, we're coming over here. We're going to be doing this. That'd be great. And then we'll let you know when our next interdimensional visit's coming. But I mean, what was it doing? This is something that I've come across on my research. I mean, with all the cases I've done so far, well, I've produced evidence for in video reports and things. These things are happening on ley lines, energy lines of the earth. There is a strong relationship to ancient history in UFO sightings, especially the strong, very, very big ones. I believe there's maybe it's like maybe this is a regular thing they do every now and again. They bring things here to keep an eye on us or to see how the world is going, or they come for something that they need, or maybe they're fulfilling a ritual of some sort. I don't really know. But what I find interesting is that in the field where this thing happened, there are these old stones, sort of ritual looking stones, whether they were a stone circle or a series of lines, avenues, if you will. I am noticing all the time, any case I've done, or even Rendlesham and Nottingham and Sheffield, there are these strong energy points, arbor points, and ley lines, which are Neolithic, Paleolithic at times, thousands and thousands of years old. And yeah, there's always some sort of spiritual sense, a religious sense, or a sort of connection to the earth, if you will. What are they doing? I don't really know, Paul. I mean, I can't really say what they're doing, but is it a religious thing? Is it a ritual thing? Is it just regular visits? Are they just on a holiday? I mean, I don't know.
No, I've heard before, and it kind of makes sense in my mind, almost like a charging up on a ley line or something, because the magnetic energy is strong there for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Coulthard said something about that when they're detecting incoming craft or energy from these craft, they give off these incredible electrical magnetic frequencies. The EMF that comes off of them is intense. And it stands to reason that if you are a more advanced being capable of interdimensional travel, is it possible you're creating a conduit and you're using the strongest energies of the earth? Because Earth creates energy; it creates an abundance of energy. You're able to tap into that and use it as a means of gaining access to this world. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's what they're doing personally, because I've seen so many examples of it in cases that I've looked into. But, I mean, it has been theorized and speculated over the course of the last few decades for sure.
Now, I say the humans, I mean us, our military, being at that point, were they following the trajectory of the item? I.e., could it have been out to sea or something and then come in? So they just thought, right, we'll go to a cap point, if you will, and then wait for it there, and then that's where we'll have our interception. Or do you think they were waiting for it to appear, materialize there, or a point in time when they knew this pyramid thing would turn up?
No, I think they knew it was coming to Pentyrch because before it settled on circling in Pentyrch, it went down to Cornwall. Then it went down to Plymouth. You know, if you know on a map, you know Cornwall. Like this, if
Yeah, Plymouth. I
there's
know where it
Wales,
is.
there's Pentyrch, yeah. In the southwest areas of England, you've got Plymouth, and then further down the map, you've got Cornwall. It was circling there, then it's circling in Plymouth, and then it settled on Pentyrch, and it stayed there for the remainder of the time before this thing showed up, along with the other plane in the century that were taking it in turns to look at this place. They knew it was coming there. They knew it was there. They set their ambush. They knew that it was going to materialize in that area. They know far more than we do, but we know that they know that those things are real, and they prepared for it. That's what happened.
So the planes were there at Pentyrch waiting for it to pop in. So, let's just say pop in, yeah? That plane was circling at Plymouth and also in other areas of Cornwall, yeah?
Yeah.
So do we think that that pyramid also made an appearance there?
Well, what I'm trying to say is with ley lines and energy centers as they move down, obviously, you know, like Ross Coulthard said, they're scanning for EMF frequencies, and if there's an intense buildup of energy to maybe open a portal, it's going to need some sort of means to open up the conduit, isn't it? You know, if that's
Yeah, okay.
dimensional gateway. Um, Maybe they realized, okay, there's a build-up here, but it's not so strong. It seems to be moving. It's coming this way. Hang on now, it's not going any further. It must be settling here.
I
So
got
that's
you.
what it's going to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And isn't it strange that it happens to point right into an area, and this thing goes right into a field and lays down a hand of lightning right in an area where there's an old ancient stone circle avenue area of ancient religious times. What are the freaking odds on that?
I don't know, but it really makes your mind boggle, doesn't it?
Hmm. I mean, it's like with Rendlesham Forest. There's ancient stone mounds around there. It's like with there's a case up in Wilsthorpe with oh, he's not getting his name right now. No, I can't remember his name at the minute. But there's a case up in Wilsthorpe. It happened in 2009, and oh, what's his name? He's written Paul Sinclair, Truth Proof.
Oh yeah, I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah, get him on your show. He's if you
Okay.
he's really good.
I'll write that down.
He had a case similar, like in 2009, where some lights came out of the sea. I think there may have been a craft approach with it, but out of nowhere, the military just showed up on the beach and surrounded the area and did what they did. Witnesses described to him what happened. It made story in the news. And interestingly enough, he wrote to the MOD and everything, and they were giving him the same answers we were getting years later. Section 26, not in the public interest. But what we did that, you know, he is now acknowledged is that we kept with it and made them answer us in the way, maybe not directly, but we pushed them into a corner to at least acknowledge certain amounts of it.
Yeah, you get the right terminology. You have to have exactly the right words. I've heard from.
Yes.
Is it who's that one that does it? Is it John Greenwood or Glenn Greenwood? Who does the Black Vault? Yeah, he does loads of FOIs, and he says you have to have exactly the right words in the right order, else you don't get what you need.
They're very. I mean, when people asked about UFOs, they wouldn't answer anything about UFOs. But if you said an identified aerial phenomena, all of a sudden, oh, okay, we got files on that.
Exactly.
That's the correct word we use.
Indeed. Now, the barrel that was shot down, that we believe was shot down, i.e., the cause of that explosion sound. Is there any information on where we believe that craft stroke debris went?
I do have some idea of it. I'm going to say personally, I know it was shot down because of the EMF and the witnesses and everything else. Because there's no other reason for them to block it all off. I mean, they were there they blocked the roads off for 3 days. I got witnesses to that, and they had white vans surveying the area for a long time afterwards as well, a few days afterwards. So I'm going to say that they did do that. But what I will say is, okay, where did it go? Obviously, they took it to RAF St. Athens, first of all. Then I know David Cameron, would you believe it, was in the area the very same day. Prince Charles, or now King Charles, came in, I believe, or one of the huge members of the royal family, on a plane called ZE-700. It's known as Kitty Hawk. That came from where did it come from? Can't remember right now. Northolt, maybe, I think it was. And came into St. Athens the very same day. That plane carries very high-profile people, cabinet ministers, prime ministers, and members of the royal family and upper echelons of the military. No Tom, Dick, and Harry's getting on that. You've got to be someone of real importance, so you're not getting on that plane. that comes into so what are all these people doing here on the very same day we've just had the weirdest exercise in the world that didn't happen, which wasn't an exercise. It obviously got taken to RAF in Athens first, and I know from the ICAO codes, which I think is the International Call Air Organization codes. It's like a number you input on a plane to tell you what part of the area of the world you're in. It's like an area code
Okay.
for a plane. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It changes all the time. That plane, ZE700, came into RAFs in Athens, flew off to America, I think around the New Jersey area, and then came back this way the next day. We've got it from a website called Politicite. And now this is where I have to be careful because I can't confirm this, but there are details in that story that do stand up. According to Politicite, someone who worked at Patterson base or something like that in the New Jersey area.
Right, Patterson.
Yeah, I think that's where it is. Yeah. He said this person told him that off the back of a Globemaster plane, one of those C-17 planes, came some sort of flatbed truck that had something underneath it that looked very much like the barrel-shaped object that we were talking about. Now, also, someone mentioned about something being brought out on a flatbed in St. Athens, I believe. Now, like I said, this is where we're jumping around into things we can prove and things that we can speculate on. But that comes from a website called Politicite. They did two articles on that, and what lends it some weight is that I know they took that thing from the crash site to St. Athens, and then something went from St. Athens over, and then of course that Royal Charter plane I was talking about for some reason just showed up, went over to the UK or the USA, and then came back. Now, what I find interesting, just to add a little bit of something on that, I've never spoken about this. I put it on a blog on one of our website pages. Not long after that, I think in May 2016, Barack Obama came to the United Kingdom. Now, if I remember correctly, he didn't come here for a G7 or a G8 meeting or a NATO summit. He just came over to visit the Queen and Prime Minister on a normal...
On a jolly. Yeah.
But, I mean, I just find that interesting. Why would he come over if it wasn't something more official? It didn't seem like it was an official meeting. I could be wrong, but he did come over, and it was very odd, the timing of all that.
I wonder, there's something to look at actually, because I watched the show, but didn't Barack, and I might be in the wrong area by the way, but didn't Barack Obama appear on a TV show with Bear Grylls in the Welsh Mountains?
I don't remember that.
I wonder. Yeah, he did like a running with Bear Grylls, and I wonder if that's on a similar time.
Because he sees himself as a celebrity, doesn't he? But
yeah,
maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know.
It might be an avenue to look into to like cross-reference that. But the going to America thing is seems to be the case across the board, doesn't it? Because whenever you hear of something downed, it seems to end up on a flight to America.
Oh yeah, and that's more or less the people who would have been in charge of all this, because a month or so after, or a few weeks after the event, we had those men in the fields of Pentyrch. I mean, they've just had strange people up in Smilog Woods that night, and then of course, yeah, the military cleared up the Lantriston Common area. The area said that all the metal, scrap metal, all the old fridges, things that have been left there for the council for years to pick up, they decided to clean up themselves and take it away.
No one picks up fridges; they're there for decades.
Oh yeah, rusty cars too. And so yeah, and then like a few weeks later, there's military men camping in the fields, looking through the area where this thing had been seen previously. And Caz Clarke and Dave and someone named Michael Hopkins, who was in the RAF, we went over to see them. And he confirmed, these were military men, all right. And we've done FOIs and looked at the council planning permission for people to do things in that field. No one filed planning permission. So once again, we've got a lot of cloak and dagger stuff going on here. And just to cut a long story short, yeah, they were military men. They certainly were not looking for mock mines or being part of Vodafone or doing fracking surveys. No, they were looking for something in those fields. Obviously, they felt they could use for whatever purposes that someone sent them there. But it's just odd, isn't it? No doubt it was America involved in it, or somebody from the US intelligence agencies probably, to keep it all covered up. But NATO were involved in this as well, in the night in question. So that tells you a lot.
Yes, I think every piece of evidence or like story part that you're telling me is pointing towards an obvious answer, isn't it?
Well, I mean, during that time also, Caz and Dave's phones were hacked. They lost things from their emails and Facebook accounts, WhatsApp messages. And they did discover afterwards, when these people had gone, there was some shreds of paper left around, I guess, and one of them had this word called Saba on it. CSABA, I believe is how it's pronounced. Now, they
Okay.
thought that was an acronym for a company, or maybe it was a name of a company. When I ran it through some searches, yeah, I couldn't believe this. The guy whose name is Saba is a name for a person who works for NATO. And do you know what his specialty is? Cybersecurity. And
Interesting.
apparently as well, they also work with companies like Vodafone or electronic phone companies to increase their security. And it's just, isn't that interesting? Vodafone supposedly doing something over there in the fields, and then all of a sudden you got this Saba name of a guy who does works for NATO in intelligence and cybersecurity divisions. And one of the things he specializes in is stop people hacking into things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all adding up. And when you mentioned earlier the threats that Kaz had received towards her children, I mean, why would you do that if it wasn't something behind it? It's just you wouldn't, would you?
No.
Therein lies the answer. Um, were there any reports, do you know, of abductions near the time of the event? Has anyone come forward and mentioned anything?
I've not heard anything about that. No, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
I haven't had anyone come forward to say something like that. Although I will say there have been continuous sightings of Pentyrch and Smilog since that time. I've even covered a case on it in my videos. Some young 16-year-old, I can't remember her name now. We're going from one to the other. But no, there have been videos of, I mean, I'll just cut this quickly.
Sure.
Was There was some mutilated horses or ponies
Oh.
found in a ditch not too far away, not long after it happened, and they looked like they had that classic, stripping of
No,
the
out of the jaw. Yeah.
whole thing. That was reported. There was something about that. But there have been some strange sightings of craft there. I mean, I've got videos of some of them. Other people, paranormal investigators, have gone there and videotaped it themselves. What Cars one time held a party, a meeting, a gathering of people who had helped her, as a thank you to people. And we had a skywatch afterwards, isn't it? And we were all like, okay, let's see what we can see. Would you believe it? They were just popping in and out all the time. White things and flashing triangle things and orbs just coming in and out of that area. And it was like we were trying to get pictures of them, but they wouldn't last long enough. Or if we did, we couldn't. It was difficult. But they are definitely there still. A very active area.
Hmm. It makes you go, whoa, doesn't it? Because it opens up your mind to the universe that it
It
is
does.
not just this shit, it's bigger.
Hmm.
Hmm. Now,
So how,
is one for you. Since obviously the government had been up and cleaned the site, presumably finger treading for material and stuff, has anyone been up there like with metal detectors and stuff?
I went around there with a
See.
metal detector, both in Smilog and Lanchester. I'm sorry, Smilog and the Pentyrch fields when I was doing the EMF scans, because I wanted to make sure there was no metal or anything in the ground that was giving off a false reading. I've gone around there. There's no metal on the ground. There's nothing to be found debris-wise, I guess. Um,
Did you
all
get any returns, or was it literally nothing?
I think.
So that's weird in itself, isn't it? Because most areas will have some measure of slag or an old coin or an old nail or something.
No, I didn't get anything. I mean, there is a pipe running through there, but that didn't give off anything. It was either too
Hmm.
far on the ground, or it just didn't do anything. What's interesting also is that the EMF that I forgot to mention this earlier is that when we were doing what I call then because I've had people misunderstand this. Why did I do that? Well, obviously to find elevated levels, of course. Once I've proven that these elevated levels were coming from the energy of the craft, not from anything man-made or natural, I just wanted to then grid reference search the place. So if you imagine this is the field here, like on a map, you start in a corner and you just move upwards, going left to right like this. And
Yeah.
you're marking out the strength of the signal that you're receiving and where it is on your map. And we found clusters of different areas in the two fields where this thing had traveled from. And also on top of that, we discovered that there was this trail of EMF that went something like this. If you're looking at overhead, here's field 1, there's field 2, and it's going like that to the, and then coming around like this into the ball patch area where the highest readings were coming from. And what's interesting is when Caz and Dave talked about how this thing moved, it didn't just go left to right. It was spinning and moving in a coming down in a pendulum sort of motion, but it was coming like it went forward a bit and then went back to their position. Like it was like it moved like that. So if you're watching it from above, it's moving like this or moving like what it was on the map. The trail of EMF was the trail of this the path that this thing had moved, and I'm like, how on earth are you making this up? Because either I'm just not that clever, or you're just incredibly good at making this up, Caz, and forging all this evidence. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Caz forged all this, people.
She forged the magnetics, yeah.
Went into the area and magnetized the whole place, both in Smilock and up there, and created false snow for everyone to see, of course, because there's video of it. And just so she could make up, please.
What is that false snow? Is that like the angel hair that gets reported? Is it the same?
Could well be, yeah. There was some I have looked into weather anomalies because we were looking for I was looking with NASA to see if I could find any satellite images of the area. Maybe they may have videotaped or recorded an image of the snow. Interestingly enough, when I went to the World Satellite View that they have, the World, what's it called? EOS, DIS, I think that's what it's called. It's the World View satellite that they have. It takes a satellite around the Earth, and it takes like a mosaic thing. Is it what do you call it? When a compilation of different scans and puts it all together. Is that what you call a mosaic?
It is a mosaic, actually, isn't it? A photographic mosaic of the Earth.
Yeah,
I get what you mean.
Yeah, a section of the Earth is constantly scanned and then put together to compile an image. What's interesting is that around the 19th of that month, that year, up until the 27th of that month, it's like a 9-10 day gap there, nearly, I think. Yeah, about 8 or 9 day gap. All those images are gone. And there's no excuse for it. I've asked NASA about it, but they won't give me an answer. They sent me a wild goose chase.
Somebody's scrubbed them, haven't they, from the bloody memory banks again?
You see, you can go through a whole year. You can play a timeline through a month's worth of images, and you may find the odd like little blur or something didn't scan because maybe the satellite was down or something. But to lose over a week's worth of footage around the same time that this is happening, no, that doesn't happen. And I've used that particular resource a number of times. But I thought, okay, well, let's have a look at weather satellites then. And I came across weather stations. People have monitors for the areas. And when I came to the Cardiff area where they monitor the airports and everything and surrounding areas, of course, I noticed an hour before this craft appeared, there was a slight dip in the temperature, really strange, just downward temperature dip. And then as the time of this thing was appearing, it goes more or less back up to a normal, to the normal temperature that it was. Normally, you can see it on the graph. It goes down like a sort of like a V shape and comes up in a V shape. It looks, everything's parallel and synchronized. But this little strange skew of temperature drop and then rising up, it goes to like 3 or 4 degrees, and then comes back
for that localized area only.
In the hour before, it goes down 3 or 4 degrees, and then the hour up, it goes back up 3 or 4 degrees. And it's like, what the hell's causing that? Because I looked at all the other monitor stations around all of Wales, nothing. Everything's fine. But just Cardiff for that one time, that one day on that particular hour, and I'm like, that's definitely causing an atmospheric disturbance of some sort. It's a weather anomaly, but it's an anomaly that times in with many of the things that we've learned. You talk about that angel hair. I think maybe that probably, I don't know if it's angel hair, but it's definitely something interfering with the moisture or the atmosphere, and just it's creating snow, this weird looking snow in 2 areas where we know the impact happened and the hand of lightning came in. So yeah, I mean, make it out we want, but we've got video of the one. You can see it's on the day or the day after, I believe. The trees are burned, the trees are snapped, the broken areas are still there. The ones that broke off, 6 or 7 trees snapped in mid trunk and just laying on the ground.
Is that
Um,
online, that video? Could you send
yeah,
me a
the
link to
video.
it if it's live?
There is a video of it. Yeah, the video is there. Yeah, it's been used in our presentations, but I did use it in the weather anomaly video. I will send you the links.
If you don't mind, that's very
Yeah,
helpful.
fun,
Thank
yeah,
you.
no problem. And yeah, because a lot of videos were taken after the event, and yeah, what's interesting is that people ask, well, when it comes to the strange snow of Smilog, then you got video? Yeah, I got video. How do you know the trees weren't snapped before? I said, well, that's a good question. How am I going to show that? I went through. I spent 2 weeks doing this. Spending hours a day at a computer, just going through YouTube videos or any Facebook videos, just trying to find if someone had a GoPro helmet on when because there's bike trails up there. Like
Ah, lovely.
mountain bike. People like to ride ramps or do the mountain bike trails. Those outdoor adventurous type people. Yeah, I went through 2 weeks worth. I went through 2 weeks doing this, and I finally found a video of someone going right past there, 4 or 5 days before it happened. Right, and would you believe it? As he goes through there, trees are fine. Trees are okay.
Mm.
And there was a fella that rides up there. His name is Oscar Green. He's related to the Michael Howard fella I just told you about, the one that saw the men in the fields. I think it's his nephew or his grandson. I'm not sure. Anyway, he's related like that. And I asked him. He said, "Yeah, Gary, you might want to speak to him because he saw the ramp and the trees and everything destroyed afterwards, but he knew before that they were fine." And I asked him, and well, I mean, this is the area I know. Is this the area we're talking about? He said, yes. I said, you say the trees were fine before? He said, yes. I said, well, what did you see afterwards? They said it was either on the 26th or the 28th. Maybe I went up there, and the trees were all snapped, and the ramp, they like to ramp. There was a ramp there. And this ramp would take you over. Those who wanted to, it's quite a jump if you wanted to try it. But obviously those people will, because I guess they got a death wish, some of them.
Yeah. Braver than me.
I tell you what, it must have been a hell of a jump if you tried it. But anyway, there was a big pallet ramp there that they had, and I looked further on just a month after the event, and there's this big ramp, a pallet ramp, smashed right next to the trees, and I'm like, well, you're telling the truth for sure, because because it's there in video and images and everything else. If anything, Smilog is one of them. In terms of Smilog, our evidence is very solid there, when it comes to what happened there. But obviously, an incredible amount happened in Pentyrch too, and we've proven that with on-field investigations and witnesses who've come forward and all the field, the scans we've taken and everything. So yeah.
With the snap trees and stuff, obviously that's an impact of the barrel object that has been shot down hitting the trees, presumably. Have we traced that to a crater point or an impact point on the ground, or is it impossible to do so?
No, those trees are it's where it impacted.
So
if you're asking,
so it hit the trees. Where did it end up? So the impact point in the soil. Yeah,
in the soil on the bottom there. Yeah, the diagram that fella who contacted us drew, you can see it from when Caz, Dave, Donna, Steve, and a few others went up there the day and the day after. Caz had obviously found, with Steve helping her, they went to Smilog Woods. They found broken canopies on trees, and it was all leading up to an area, and they kept following this trail until eventually they found all the snapped trees. And what they also found were military tire tracks there as well. They took pictures of a lot of stuff. That was good, actually. You got to get that evidence quickly before you lose it. I recommend anyone, if there's ever anything like that, get there quick and take as many pictures as you can. Speak to everyone you can. If you're really that insistent on it, you've got to do it quickly. Otherwise, you're going to lose that information. You can lose it very quickly.
And share it quickly, presumably, to everywhere.
Download, go online, go on social media, go and get everything you can, because I guarantee you someone's going to come along and clean it out. So they found the broken canopies, broken trees, and then they got to the area. Yeah, the video that they show on the day, you can see that there's a lot of overgrowth there now. A lot of other trees have undergrown it, and it's covered the area. But at this time, it's quite barren. It was quite open and flat land. You could see the leaves and the soil on the ground. There were bramble bushes all tied in there. On the diagram that he draws us, he diagrams that there's bramble bushes there with the broken trees and everything. It's exactly without minus the barrel, of course, the thing on the floor. Everything else is as they draw it, as Caz and Dave and all the others have filmed it. And only those trees where everything snapped, there's these white burn marks on the top of it, on only those 6 trees in that area right there. No other trees have it. It's not fungus. It's not some sort of infection, you know. And what's interesting, just to add some more weight to this, is when I was scanning, because I scanned the area of Smilog too, right? And this is how I went about it. Again, scanning everything, metal detectors, radiation detectors, EMF, all around the area. And then when we get into the area in question, the elevations in the magnetic field are going off again. But then there's an area just below it which was felled, right? Because they felled this area. This area wasn't meant to be felled. It was where the barrels come through and then hit the trees and at the top there. I scanned all around that, you know, doing the grid reference search I talked about. I was getting hits in a line that led straight into that impact area. And when you follow it back, you know, if you turn yourself around and look in that direction, what do you think I'm looking at? The Royal Glamorgan Hospital, where the Royal Mint and Lanchas and Common is, where people said this thing had gone off. And I should point out, there was a man named, I don't remember the man's name, I don't think I got his name. There's a lady named Moira, right, who said her father was in the hospital, and he was a former RAF man. He was a armorer, yeah, so he's used to dealing with the weapons systems and things. And he said he heard gunfire, low-flying helicopters, and a lot of noise coming from outside before the explosion shook his bed and shook the ring he was on. He got quite unnerved by it. So it makes me wonder. Also, this plane was circling more and more into the area that I was telling you about. The circles got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, spiraled in sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of homed in on it. And I reckon what they've done is they've fired into this area to try and get it to come out. The thing's broken cover, I guess. The Apaches come because the Apaches can hold a low, and you know they can come up and you know they're like hello, here I am, you know, boom, get you very quickly, and they can fire a missile like a Tomahawk missile. I can't remember, is it the new Tomahawk missile they got or the new? Caz knows this because she looked into this area. The particular missiles that they use, probably using then, you can fire it and it'll go subsonic in half a second. You know, a second, very quickly. Even instantly when you fire it, it's a hell of a missile. I don't know what they used to bring this thing down, but they brought it down all right. I think they tried to get it to break cover, and maybe one of them did, or some of them did. And they've just managed to lock onto one of them and got lucky.
Well, I've held this question in my head for quite a while now, but I think it's time to say it.
Or maybe they didn't get lucky. Sorry, or maybe they didn't get lucky. That's exactly what they expected.
Who knows? You'll never know unless you interview a soldier that pressed the button, will you? If it was a missile that brought it down rather than bullets, I would imagine at some place there's got to be a record of how many stocks of a missile they had, and can we prove that that stock went down by 1 or 2 on that date? You know, I know that you don't need it, but is that possible?
That's definitely something I'd like to. I don't even know if they would give me that information. Actually, I mean,
who knows?
You know, I was like, I mean, if I could get records of that, yeah, you know, can I have a list of your inventory, please? Yeah, it shows
on this date and then this day.
this day, you're down by 1. What's going on?
Yeah, where did you fire that one?
But I mean, it's, you know, that's an interesting avenue. That's something I could try. I don't know how I go about it. I don't even know if they would give me that information, to be honest, because it's probably more, you know, do you get a list of stockpiles of these things? I mean, is that even possible?
I don't know. But it's an interesting one if you ever can go down that avenue, innit? Not necessarily you, somebody else doing it maybe. Who knows?
It depends what area the helicopters were stationed at and who fitted them out. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know, dear.
Well, they'll obfuscate anyway, won't they? So they won't give you the answer.
Even if it was, I mean, if this thing was armed to fire and shoot, someone's obviously done it on a hush-hush, you know. They're not going to keep records of that for, you know, I don't know. Who knows? Who
knows, exactly. It's a side venture. Is this, do you think, the same object from the Cash Landrum sighting, or the same scenario?
Probably.
That's also a Chinook's helicopter following a diamondy sort of craft, isn't it?
Yeah, there is many similarities to the Cash Landrum one as well as this one, because there was close proximity, there was radiation, there were physical burns, and of course the military were involved at some level. I don't know if it was a similar object, but it definitely has similarities between this and that one for sure.
Yeah, it follows the same MO in that the pyramid diamondy object just is going slowly across the sky, and then there's a shed load of military things following it.
It just goes to show, I mean, obviously they're aware of these things and have been for a long time. And if they're using similar methods from a case all the way over in America, why is
Mm.
they're using similar methods here? Obviously, they've trained for it. They've
Yes.
obviously they've obviously come up with they've obviously contemplated the situation and come up with a plan of attack or a plan of action. So it stands to reason that they're well aware of them. They're not going to tell us, but what's interesting is the behavior of them when you ask questions and how they deviate from their standard protocols on the night in question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very definitive case, isn't it? It's like you say, it is the Welsh Roswell. It's got so much going for it.
Yeah, do you know that's the thing? It's not just. Do you know there are people? Do you know there are people living in the area who are not even aware this happened? And yet, there are people around the world. How come I've never heard of this? Well, there are people living right next door to where it happened and weren't aware of it. I mean, does it not surprise you that the military have never been questioned by government, or no one from mainstream media has even bothered to follow this up? I mean, our Welsh mainstream media, Wales Online, are still calling it an
Hmm.
exercise chameleon, and yet they said from military sources that's what it was, and yet we've proven that through due diligence and research and asking questions to the irrelevant off. But just to get back to what I was saying, and I bloody forgotten it now. So go on.
Was it a good one though you had that you forgot?
Oh yeah, it was just based on the whole, how people don't think it's definitive. They just think it's Caz. Oh, there's just one witness. I said, no,
Hmm.
no. There's multiple witnesses now. We've got at least maybe 4 from the area of Pentyrch that saw the thing. Caz is the one that's gone public. David has spoken once publicly with his voice morphed, of course, but not on camera, but with the audio.
Why doesn't he want his name out there? Does he just think it's going to impact negatively?
Personal reasons, professional reasons, family reasons. I won't
All
go
of the
into.
above. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, he's a working man, he's a family man. He doesn't want that kind of attention on him. I guess he may do one day. He's kind of sort of warming to the idea, I guess. But you got to understand, Kaz's family was threatened. He doesn't want his family threatened. He doesn't want that on
Yeah,
his.
that's fair.
And he's a working man. Who's to say he might lose his job? I wouldn't say he loses his job, but he's got to fund his family. He's got to feed his family. So yeah, I mean, and then look what happened to the people up in Smilog Woods. They were threatened, and within menacingly. And
Yeah.
I mean, I should point out as well that Steve and Caz were driving home on the night, 2 nights after it happened. Is how I found out about this. I was at a Merthyr Table Rugby Club event. It was being hosted by the person who does Rich Planet, Richard D. Hall. It was very popular to go to these places. I always enjoyed going to these early events. He hasn't done them for a while, but during that 2 days after that event, there was in Merthyr Tydfil. That's where he was doing his tour. That was the leg of his tour for that one. And Caz Clarke was there during the Q&As at some point. She got the microphone, told everyone. Well, the room just what? Everyone knew something
Hmm.
had happened with the military presence that day, but no one expected to hear that. And then, of course, all the questions and people started to come out about helicopters and the planes and the smoke and blocked roads and the hospital shaking and all that. I knew that's when I wanted to look into it right there. But Kaz has said, as he was driving home that night, Steve, who's a very good driver, advanced learner driver, I believe, he's done extra courses and stuff. Um, yeah, someone came up behind them and almost rammed them off the road.
Hmm. Yeah,
You
unusual.
make it out what you want, but but later on, she had someone who called themselves Tony, went on every UFO group out there, managed to find Caz and agreed to meet, and that guy threatened David and his family and his boy, and also then tried to threaten and maybe muscled up the Caz a little bit, but then Steve, who sort of protected Caz, told I think you've said enough now. Yeah, and then of course afterwards, people being threatened with car crashes and stuff, and threatening other people. Nah, you can see why.
Yeah, yeah, no, it makes sense. Like, I get it. I don't have any children, but if I did, you'd do everything in your power to protect them, wouldn't you?
Dude.
So I do understand that one. One of my questions was how you got involved. Now you've just mentioned about that. The final question I have about the Pentyrch incident is regarding the orbs themselves, which is, let me just go back to the page in question. What do you think the orbs themselves are for?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I've had some thought about this. I mean, obviously, if they're being released and to be left here, obviously they must be doing surveillance, keeping an eye on things. I think they're probably highly advanced, intelligent beings of themselves and are probably just curious about the place. I think they do have a purpose. I'm not entirely sure what. The fact that they were aware of Caz and Dave's presence by the gate and gave her, some sort of incentive. I wouldn't say incentive, but gave her a message. Can you tell the world what happened? Obviously they're interacting maybe with other people. They're
Hmm.
they're probably influencing sightings in the sky because I do believe these things. Sometimes I'm seeing people are seeing those weird barrel shaped orbs again around here after the event. So, I mean, they've got a purpose. What exactly it is, I don't know. But I think, why would you send, why do we send probes to the furthest planets, to look, to
Always
investigate?
knowledge, isn't it? Yeah, expand
That's what
knowledge.
they're doing with us. They're surveying us, they're gaining knowledge and seeing how things are going. I guess they've got a purpose of their own. They're probably just curious like we are. But I do believe there are intelligent beings in them. No, I don't mean
Inside them.
physically. I don't mean physically, like someone operating, but like an artificial intelligence or a
I see.
concept that can be transferred.
Yeah. Or indeed, like a drone where you're controlling it with a headset.
Mm.
So even that side, and
Yeah, yeah. We have.
yeah,
I do believe some of those ones we see, the more advanced ones, are probably being controlled remotely somewhere around the world. But
yes.
who's controlling them? Who knows?
Hey, a side thing. Have you seen that jellyfish video that's been making the rounds recently? The jellyfish UFO that
Ah,
Jeremy Corbell has just.
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Oh, okay, have a look at that afterwards, and let's pick up on offline if you don't mind. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you think that is because it's very odd,
I'll have a look at that.
but it's definitely worth looking at. Um, how much? Well, let's expand this out now because I think we'll put a cap on the Pentyrch incident itself. Let's go bigger picture. Um, you've almost alluded it to what you think the overall agenda is there. They're probing us for knowledge. Do you think there are different groups of UFOs visiting us with different agendas, i.e., some coming for knowledge, i.e., to find out what different life is like, etc.? Do you think there are other alien species coming here for nefarious purposes, or from
Yeah,
what you've heard?
yeah, I do. I think some of them are just curious and taking a look. I think some of them are obviously trying to help us, guide us. Maybe they're probably working with high-ranking members in whatever forms of government there are. And obviously, there are some. You hear the stories during the 50s and 60s. They contacted certain groups, the Greys maybe, who gave technology for permission to abduct human beings. There are some who would say, people say the reptilians are trying to infiltrate us and wipe us out in order to regain what they've lost. Because apparently this is their planet, not ours,
Mm-mm.
we were supposed to have shared it. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I do believe some of them are nefarious because why are people? Because some people who get abducted get treated badly, really bad,
Yes. Oh
and
God,
some
yeah.
of them have been physically scarred. Some of them have been killed. And some of them have seen them in the skies. I mean, what was that one in Jamaica or was it Mexico? Those bright lights shining beams on people and hurting them. Remember? Do you remember
Oh,
that?
that's right. I think it's Brazil, that one.
Yeah.
I know
And
the one you mean, though.
there's also that one where people there's one guy he was skinned. I mean, he had his blood drained.
Oh
There's
God.
photos here. Did you see it? Have you seen this one?
Don't remember. I might, if you like threw some names or some information, I might remember it. But
There was I can't remember the name of the case, but it's known as it's like when you see the cattle abduct mutilations. The
right,
jawline has been stripped, the eyeballs have been stripped. Uh, I mean, there were police photographs showing that he'd had his internal organs removed, his genitals had been mutilated,
Oh
his
Christ!
collarbone had been taken off.
Was this the policeman found on the coal heap? Is that one?
No, no, no. I know the one you're talking about. No, this was in Argentina.
Ah, right, okay.
This one was in Argentina, I believe. But I mean, you've had the recent one, haven't you? The people who say the skin crawlers, is it the ones that strip human beings of their skin? The ones that there was a story about it recently. I forget what the
Is it?
hell.
Oh, I've not seen that. That sounds
Oh,
bloody awful, though.
me and Caz had a big discussion about this. There was reports of people seeing these alien-like beings that when they attack them, they peel the skin off the humans, and they're trying to defend themselves from them. There was a big thing about it. I can't remember the name of it. I mean, you've just had the recent one, haven't you, with the mall in Miami, supposedly the 10th.
Oh yeah, that's weird. That one.
I mean, there is something odd about that. I mean, either it's Project Bluebeam or there's something to it because the lack of media attention on it alone is ridiculous. And why you'd have all those police cars and shut down the airspace is very odd. That's just my take on the Miami one, anyway. But no, some of them are nefarious. Some of them are nefarious indeed. But some of them are very, very friendly and very, very peaceful. I know they want to help us, and some of them are very human looking. I'm positive I may have met one or two of them actually. I'm not sure.
Well, you were alluding to the Nordics, weren't you earlier? The whole 6 foot blonde.
The Nordic ones, yes. Or what some people would say they're Arcturian. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I've
Who
seen.
knows with that?
I've seen stuff. I've seen people who I'm positive at least once I've met one of them in public. I can't say, but it was just strange. I mean, because do you want to hear the story?
Yeah, I do actually. You can't throw out a thread like that without finishing it off.
I just don't want to distract from what I'm saying.
That's
But it was
okay.
a guy. There's a man named. I mean, I like Dorothy. What's her name? Dolores Cannon. That's it.
Oh yes, yeah.
She's spoken to a man named Gari Jones. I think he's a Canadian German fellow or something. Gari Jones is his name anyway. And he was talking about how he would go to a place in a public place, town, city, whatever, and he could recognize these beings because one of them was a blue-eyed, blonde-haired fella who was very unusual in the way his eyes glowed and how he just the energy he was giving off. He said anyway. He learned to talk with him and speak with him, and eventually he could ask them to show up and say hi. Now there's a researcher in America and Britain, Timothy
Good.
Good, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of another name. Timothy Good. He's also spoken about how he could put out thoughts, project his thoughts of intent about wanting to meet these advanced human beings or the beings that live longer, have better immune systems, and just they're just different in ways. And if you know what to look for, apparently you can spot them. And he says you're putting out a thought of intent. If they want to meet you, they will. But you got to be useful with the thoughts. So I thought I'm going to give this a go, just to see what happens. I was curious. I was really curious about this. So I had to go to town just to deal with some payments and bills on the Friday or something. I was getting my money Monday, so I had to sort of work out my budget for the weekend. And I thought, well, it's Tuesday. I'm going to put out a thought of intent now just to see if it has enough time to manifest itself. Then, okay, if there's anyone going to be there, I'm going to be in the bank, meet me there. And I won't say anything, but could you do something that lets me know it's you? Just something like that. Just something silly like that.
And how did you do that? Just once in your head, say it once, or did you
yeah,
over and over and again?
I just sort of said it, and I said I won't be panicked, and I'm not going to go crazy. As long as you don't hurt me, I won't hurt you, that sort of thing. The intent was in my head, and I was saying it really strongly. I mean it. And I go to the bank. I go to my bank in town. But what's interesting is I get off the bus. Thought, well, I'll work my way down. I'm going to go through a shop or two just to look around, see what if there's anything interesting I like. Can you put that back for me? I'll get it on Monday or whatever. As soon as I get off the bus, I get like 4 or 5 steps. All of a sudden, the voice in my head, come to the bank. All right, I'm on my way. Literally, like someone phone called me in my head. It's like the message just came in there, and it's like, oh, they're down there. I know they are. So I've
And were you scared?
No, I was quite intrigued actually.
Okay.
And I'm like, what's happening here then? And I go around the corner, and there it is. Like, I can see him right away. He's on his phone like this, and he's just putting it down. And I'm like, you're dressed a little different. Not you're not different, but you are dressed differently. He's got one of those sort of like sailor suit t-shirts on, blue and white thing like this, and he's got like a pair of dungarees and a white jacket on. I'm like, you do stand out a little. You don't stand out, but he stands out. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone else is wearing like puffy coats and jeans and or usually
Standard stuff.
standard plain colored clothes, and he looks like he blends into the crowd. But at the same time, he looks old, but he looks young. He's got white hair, beard. He looks like Captain's Birdseye with glasses on, but he looks very well trimmed and very well kept. So anyway, he goes into the bank ahead of me. I know why I'm going to the bank. I want to go over to the machine in the corner there because that's where you get your ins and outs and your payments going in and out, direct debits and things. One of those. I can't remember the name of the machine. It doesn't dispense money. It dispenses statements and tells you your paying. So I want to go with that one first, but for some reason I'm drawn to go over to the cash point. I don't want to go to the cash point. I want to go over there. For some reason I'm standing here. I'm getting this strong sense of stand here. All of a sudden, then I get this weird feeling he's behind me, and I look around. There he is. I don't say nothing, so I don't need to use this. I'm going over there. He was standing by that machine just a minute ago, and then I go over there, put my card in, right? And as I enter the PIN number and everything, what do you think happens? I've used this machine hundreds of times. It never fails. The machine goes fuzzy. The screen goes fuzzy. It brings my card out, and then it comes back on normally. And I'm looking over there, and he's just pretending he's texting on a phone. But I know he's looking in the corner in his eye, and I'm like, holy shit. You know what I mean? So I get my statement, I do my thing, and then I leave. Now, I'm not going to talk to him because that was not the deal. And I leave like that, and I'm like, I can't believe that actually just happened. Now, you can call it coincidence. You can call it, or you just expected something weird, Gary, and you're just using that to justify it. But no, there was a strong sense of feeling that this guy was connected to me in this way. He was obviously influencing my decisions or... Oh, it was just so strange.
You can't put your finger on it, but did you have a knowing?
Yes.
Okay. It's a word that keeps coming up on my podcast, this knowing thing. And people who know things will understand it, but it's a weird one.
Do you know, when you talk about knowing or a feeling, it's like instinct and it's something you can't lie about, you just know it's real. It's like, I know if I put my hand in a burning flame, I'm going to get burned. If I know if I do something dangerous, I'm going to get hurt. But if it's like you can just trust this person because he's not going to lie to you. It's strange. You can't be deceived because there's a more highly interactive feeling going on there. Like, obviously we can lie to each other. I can tell you something and I can be lying, but you can believe me because I'm just using words. But when it's like them, there's a connection on the psychological, telepathic or empathic kind of thing. Maybe empathic is what it is. Feelings are being exchanged more strongly. And if you can know how someone feels, then maybe you get a better sense of what they're thinking.
Okay, so Captain Birdseye over there, we're what we're alluding to from your
Just a description
your story but Captain Birdseye is as good as anything. Is he then an alien? Is what we're getting at, or a hybrid alien, human alien? They've got phones. What are they doing on phones?
Maybe it's just to blend in. I don't know, but it's just I learned all this stuff from Dolores Cannon and Garnet Schauhauser and Timothy Goody. I mean, he had like 2 experiences with this, and again, he always said that these people looked healthy and young and well dressed and kempt, and you could just get the sense there was something unusual about them. And I just I've experienced that maybe more than once, but I know for once it did actually work. I tried it. It worked, and I don't know what to make of it, but I'm just accepting it as it was a real thing. I mean, I've seen too much and been through too much to know the difference. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, look, you tried it for a start, and most people wouldn't be brave enough to even give it a go. So fair play to you. I don't think I would. I've tried to be intentionally trying lucid dreaming and things, and tried to go down those esoteric routes, but I've never been able to get to.
Well, I mean,
my resolution.
It's interesting when I talk about all these, people who are having UFO sightings or strange paranormal experiences. It's like, is there a link to any of this, or is it just happening because it's happening? You're just in the area when it's happening. I think it's because maybe it's something to do with genetics. Maybe it's to do with, you can say your advanced soul being energy. Because I do believe that not, we our bodies die, but it's an essence, that we carry with us for all time, I guess. We're all part of one creation, the universe creation, if you know what I mean. Some people
Yeah.
would call that God. Some people would call that Allah or Yahweh or whatever God you have. Whatever created this universe, I just call it the universal creation. I do, because that's the way I prefer it. But it's like we're all a spark of that creation. We're all linked in, and I guess some of us have been here longer than others. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it's like that saying, isn't it? Some souls are brought here to help or to advance things, and I think that's what it is. I'm not saying I'm special. I'm just saying that I'm noticing this far too much. Once you get involved in this line of inquiry, in this line of investigation, right, you start to see these things. Now other people would just think, oh, he's freaking crazy. Right, fine, I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy because I've lost my marbles. I'm just crazy to you because I can comprehend something you're not capable of understanding right now. That's
Or
all.
doesn't, or don't want to understand because they're too busy in the trivial.
I mean, let's think about it. If I, here's my mobile phone. I go back 100 years and show that to a scientist, right? He's going to think that's the most incredible thing in the world. He might even think I'm an alien himself because I'm talking about we're going to fly one day. We're going to go and build rockets and go into space, and we're going to cure so many diseases. We're going to create abundance of food and energy. And it's like, are you freaking crazy here? You're talking about things we haven't even discovered how to do yet. But then I go forward 100 years, and they're going to call as a house brick.
Yeah. I'm that guy in the past, right, Gary? I'm going to burn you as a witch.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
exactly how they would look at it.
exactly.
I wouldn't
That's
be a
exactly
prophet.
it.
I wouldn't be a prophet in their eyes. I'd be someone who was possessed.
A demon. Yeah, definitely. Kill the beast. Right. No, I'll ask you the question I ask every person I speak to, which is, what strange things have happened to you? Now, you've mentioned your um, intention story, and you've mentioned the crafts that you've seen. Has anything else strange happened to you in your life? That could be a ghost, something weird someone has said to you once. Anything.
Wow, there are some which I'm not going to go into. But I'll explain some of the things that have happened. I mean, one
Okay.
time, three. I'll give you three. All right. One time was quite bad. In this room, which I don't usually sleep in this room anymore. I got a bedroom in the other place. Something weird about this. I don't know. It's just a psychological thing, I guess. But I remember one time waking up. I came in this room and I felt like there was a dark presence here. There was something evil, and sinister. I didn't like it. And I woke up one night and I saw this, like, when people say like a demon, like right in front of your eyes like that. There was like the shadow hooded being in front of me, just trying to, like, it was attacking me or sucking the life out of me or something.
Yeah.
I just remembered it was dragging me downstairs and then out into the backyard. I sort of fought it off, I guess. That's the only way I describe it. But I remember it flying off into the moonlight, into the sky part there. And then I was like, I woke up. What the hell was that? I was sweating. I felt like I was, not fight or flight mentality. Come on, man. Where are you? So I went outside. I looked for it. And then I was like, I went out the back. And what do you think? The sky looked exactly the bloody same.
That's in your dream, yeah.
Yeah, but then that maybe that was a nightmare. Maybe there's not a body. I don't know.
Who
The second
knows?
time, the second time though, I guess wasn't long after this, or some time after. Again, I was here and I was dreaming that there was a, like, beautiful blonde lady in blue, blonde hair, blue, but white skin this time.
I'm liking this dream better already.
Oh, don't worry, it wasn't anything erotic, but
Ah,
it was just like, like it was just sort of watching over, sort of blessing me a bit, like, just sort of like a healing sort of thing. And I'm getting the sense there's something close. My body's like telling me there's someone here, there's someone here. And I can see in my closing my eyes, there's something there. And as I open my eyes, there she is, standing right here, right here. And I'm like, what? I'm not threatened by her. I don't feel scared at all. If anything, she seems to have come here to sort of help me out. Like, and she just sort of fizzles out before my eyes, just disappeared.
and you don't recognize this face?
No, but it feels familiar.
Hmm.
Felt familiar. And the third time, it was just like a like an information download. I was having a pretty bad. It was a pretty weird night. It was like I was being shown some really powerful information. I was being shown like people have said they've had information downloads before, like something just comes gushing into their brain and they can't turn off, they can't sleep, they can't focus. It's just something is activating in your head, and I was being shown like what the universe was all about, how it got created, and what the meaning of it all was, space time and 3D reality. And I was like, I could see it in equations and formulas that would be written on chalkboards, like 60 feet high and 150 feet wide. It were huge equations just running around like that. And I'm like, I know every single thing you're talking about.
You could understand it, you mean?
I could really understand it, yeah. And I was just like, what is this? You know, and it was so overwhelming in the end. I think I must have passed out from all the, it was driving me crazy at one point. I was like, can you stop? Just stop. And then it was like, then it stopped. And then like,
and was this one?
A minute later, it just went boom and came back with event. Sorry, we're not quite finished yet. You know, we'll give you a breather, but we got to get this done. You know, and it's like, oh, crazy.
So this one, was this waking or sleeping? This one?
Sleeping.
Okay. Now, what was the answer to the universe?
I don't remember. I do, but I do remember the notion behind it. It was it's an experiment or a way of experiencing life on a more physical, denser plane. That's the only way I can describe it. It's like, you know, lower vibrational, thicker, denser reality. I guess the universe was just having a bit of fun. Wanted to know what it was like on a different plane. That's all. Just another plane of existence. Something for it. Something for it to look into. That's all it was. And we're here just to experience it. You know, those who want to experience it. That's funny, isn't it? Life. You know, when I say life is for experiencing. LIFE. Life is for experience. Life. I mean, like one day it's like LIFE. It's like. I wasn't making that acronym up. I wasn't looking for it. It just popped there, and that's like, you know, it is to experience. Some of us are here to grow and learn, and some of us are here to help and do whatever.
Are you psychic then?
I don't think so, but I've had psychic experiences.
Which means you're probably psychic. You may not want to admit it, or
well, that's like saying I'm X-Men. That's like saying I'm Professor Xavier out of X-Men. You know what I mean?
You're not, are you? You've got bloody hair,
and I can walk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't forget that one. Gary, we are now entering the Koit zone. Koit zone. And in Koit zone, I will just ask you random questions. Some are silly, some are straightforward, logical things. So you answer the best you can, or if you don't want to, we'll move on to the next one. So if you won the lottery, what are you doing buying?
I would probably like to travel the world, study ancient civilizations, and maybe then one day open up a museum of all these lost knowledges. That's probably what I would like to do.
Okay, does that mean you're a searcher for answers?
Yes.
Is that what your mission is?
So like the lost history of human civilization, I'd like to do something like that. Plus, I'd like to go holidaying to the Barbados areas once in a while. So yeah, I go traveling.
Oh, fair play to you. What's the largest animal you've ever ridden?
A horse. I've ridden a horse when I was a kid on Barry Island. They don't do it anymore, but they did have horses then. I've ridden a bloody big one too. You know, he was a powerful animal.
It's weird that you say Barry Island, because I was it's not because you're from Wales, but I was searching Barry Island yesterday. It came into my head to search for it, and the reason it did, because when we were youngsters, we went on a journey to Barry Island at school from school. You know, it's sad to see it's closed now.
Barry Island? No,
yeah, isn't it closed, or did it run down or something?
No, oh well, maybe the Butlins Park did. I don't know, but I know they've still got the fairground there.
Good.
They've even redone the area. You know, it's all had a new paint job and new brickwork and maintenance work and stuff. No, it's still very much open.
Good. Well, then gives me something to look forward to. Maybe I'll go there. Who knows? What's the best flavor ever?
Oh God, I don't know. I am going. I'll go with if you mean ice cream, I'll go with what's that one? Vanilla. I'll go with vanilla.
You're going vanilla. I wasn't going ice cream. It could be any flavor ever, but I like the way you chose that.
I like chicken korma curry.
There you go. Let's go with that one. What's the last time you stayed awake right through to the next day?
Just 2 days ago.
What was the reason?
I just stay up late sometimes. I don't sleep.
Oh, wow.
My
Sorry to
mind
hear
is
that.
always active at night. My mind is very active at night. I never seem to
Mm.
shut it off. But yeah, I just go right through. I can go through. I think the longest I've stayed awake, not intentionally, is maybe 3 days.
Whoa. I'd be dead by then, I think.
I was like 20. I was like in my 20s, and I haven't done that for a while. But I have gone like quite a few times just staying up.
Oh, wow. Fair play. I couldn't do it. Have you ever traveled first class?
No, I like to.
Yeah, me too. Thinking of sleeping on the cabin while you're taking a long haul flight, you know? How'd the other half live? Um, what's the last sporting event or concert that you ever went to?
Concert? No, no, I've never been to a concert. No, maybe in the St. David's Hall Orchestra on Christmas.
Oh, very recently, just Christmas just gone.
No, the year before. The year before,
Oh,
that was the
okay.
last time I went to some sort of event like that. Yeah,
Fair enough. What's the best way to cook an egg for you?
scrambled.
Oh, scrambled. Now, do you put pepper in your scrambled egg or not?
I put a little bit in there if I feel like it. I like to use salted margarine or salted butter, because it just
Mm.
flavors it better, I think.
Nom nom nom. Yes. I might have some of that with my tea now. I cooked this massive turkey earlier, and you're turning me on to scrambled egg. I'll continue in the food theme. Tomato sauce or brown?
Wrong.
Good man. I'm so glad you did that. Most people seem to choose tomato, and that's no. I'm going to get rid of that. What's your best skill?
Probably investigation work, I'll have to say. Thinking outside the box, maybe.
Do you know what? It's a question I had in my head that I didn't ask you earlier, so I'm going to go back to it now quickly. What is it about the investigation side of things that drove you to do it? Because I have an inquisitive mind, but I wouldn't want to go out and do all the field work. So what is it you enjoy, the answer or the search?
I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, I like searching for the answers. I like to know because I'm 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 not afraid of this subject. I'm not. I got so many people who want answers, but they don't know how to approach it. And seeing as I have that ability to just find answers in areas maybe people don't think about, being more meticulous in my research or just being able to see patterns in things that maybe other people don't. That's just me. It's just the way I am.
Yeah, cool. And you sent me a link to one of your Rumble videos, and having watched that, that was very methodical. It
Mm.
was an eye opener.
Mm.
I'll put that in the description as well, so people
I'll
can
send
see
you
your
the
Rumble
link.
channel. Yeah, if you can, that'd be cool. If you could download a new skill directly into your brain, so no training, what would that one be?
I think I would learn new languages. Like to instantly learn a language. I think we are, in many ways, able to communicate effectively with language. But George Carlin is one of my favorite people. He says sometimes we're tortured by the language. So sometimes words lose meaning in translation. So I'd like to learn new languages, see what the real meanings are, because our history, ancient history in particular, is tortured by it. The words lose meaning over time. So that's why I always encourage people, if you want to learn the origins of words, go look at etymology, see
Mm,
what the true translation really was.
fair play. And obviously that ties together nicely with the fact that you want to go and do traveling. So
Mm.
it's too heavily linked. Right, you're in control of the universe, right? What music style do you delete?
Oh, what would I get rid of? I don't know. I'd probably get rid of if I had to push, I'd probably get rid of probably that manufactured pop star stuff. You know what I mean? All that just that teeny boppy nonsense of music. I can't stick it. There's no soul in it. There's no life in it. It's just like it's all like electronic noise and meaningless words. I'd probably get rid of that.
Fair enough. I was sending you intentions in my mind so that you could get rid of jazz, but you obviously want to keep jazz.
Well, has a purpose. I don't listen to jazz, but I mean, people love jazz. They find soul and meaning and feeling in jazz. So yeah, I mean, I probably would have said rap, but then I guess people there are some good rappers out there who actually. Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes they do come up with some good stuff. And if anything, just to post a message.
Yeah, there's good people in everything, I think. But fair play,
Oh yeah, there's good and
you've
bad in
chosen
all.
pop.
Pop music. Get rid of pop music.
Yeah, cool. Last two questions. What's your favorite Muppet? Or who's your favorite Muppet, I should say.
I can't remember the name of the one now. I think he was the jazz player actually in the Muppets. He's the one that
Zoot, the one with the saxophone.
I think so, yeah.
Zoot, his name
I think
is.
he was like the Dolgan with a sort of fuzzy hair or whatever.
Oh, the dog. That's Rolf, the one that plays the piano. Is that the one you mean?
That could have been the one, yeah. I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, I don't remember the names. I mean, Kermit, I didn't like. Biggie, I just thought, it's like watching a couple argue all the time. Gonzo was okay, I guess. But no, I mean, I always like the side characters. I always found, the one. Yeah, I guess the one who played the piano was always one of my favorites.
Okay. Rolf.
He was just a bit more fun to look, just to watch.
Good stuff. Last one. Favorite film.
Favorite film? Now you're asking. I do. I mean, I'll have to go with. I'll just go with Alien 2.
It's a very good choice of film. That is really good, isn't it?
Mm. Oh yeah, sequel wise, I mean, it's either that or Terminator 2. So I just think those two films are, it's got James Cameron's obviously touch in it, but just as far as sequels go, I mean, I have to say Aliens 2 and Terminator 2, just for the sequels. I mean, not many people nail a sequel that well, but he just, I mean, they're brilliant films.
Correct. Have you seen the
Brilliant
extended?
storylines.
Have you seen the extended version of Aliens? The one with the gun in the hallway scene.
Yes, much
That's
better.
also really good. Yeah.
Much better.
Cool. Right, I have two final questions for you, and then we will wrap up. So, first one, what else do you like to do in your downtime? Any activities, stroke, guilty pleasures?
I like to do photography. I like to take my camera out every once in a while. I like to do it more in the springtime because there's more things to film, or in the summertime. So yeah, I like to do photography. I haven't done it for a while because I've been injured and it's been hard to walk. I've had problems with my back and legs, so I can't really go all that far. But I like to do photography. Yeah, I like to capture nature on film. So yeah, I like to do that stuff.
Do you do it digitally or film?
Digitally. I haven't got. I mean, film is still a thing. Yeah. No, digitally. I like to do it digitally. It's easier. It's just easier.
Cool. And then the final question I will throw at you, which is, what are you currently working on?
Me and a friend of mine. Well, I'm still working on all my projects. The Pentyrch thing and the UFO stuff. But as a side project, I've been working on a book with my friend. We're writing a fictional book. And it's called Never Be Afraid Again. Would you like to hear the details very quickly?
UFO, yeah, throw it.
Well, my friend came up with an idea about 10 years ago for a book or a film, and he'd never really found anyone to sort of help him with it. So it stayed on the shelf for a long time. And then about 5 years ago, he came to me with it, and I was like, I wouldn't mind working on this just for a bit of fun because I've never done a script or an idea for a book before. And it's called Never Be Afraid Again. It's about a man who has to survive the night from an underground criminal organized syndicate that deals in top secret information. He stumbles onto their operations purely by accident, and they're trying to capture him, and he has to avoid them. And a whole load of other things happen in the process. There's a love interest, and there's all these chases, and highly intelligent scenes, and yeah, it's just that one innocent act brought him into this world he never knew existed. That's how we started. So.
And when do you think this project will see the light of day?
Well, we're currently in the writing phase. We're going to write some more pages now this month, hopefully, when I get a bit of time. I don't know exactly when it'll be completed, but we're aiming for the summer. Whether that be on sale, I don't know. If we can get if anyone knows a decent publisher that would offer us a good deal, we obviously will work out something. But I mean, we would like to see it made into a film. I think it would, because people. I mean, obviously, I've been able to go into more detail about it over the course of a discussion with people. They get excited by the idea. So
Well,
maybe
good luck to you. I hope it comes to fruition.
yeah,
Fruition, you know. Look, Gary, thank you ever so much for coming on KoitCast. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you, and some quality information coming out. So much appreciated.
thank you.
No worries. And what I would say to everyone who's watching, please go and check the links below. Go and look at Gary's channels, and then look at the books. Yeah, support the authors, support the artists, support the people who come on the channel. Thank you. To watch other KoitCast episodes, please click the image top left. To subscribe to my channel, please click the image top right. Please like and share to help KoitCast grow, and most importantly of all, please click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.